Fair use.
Top of our matrix nature that was already here and took and raped and pillaged our people. So your grandma, your mother, your aunt taught you what you know now today, and that it's running systematically in your genetic bloodline. So now that you portal into this realm, your children know what you know the ignorance of this system. Your daughter know the ignorance of this system. It's in her blood. 0 to 7 years old. So when you come with truth, and you come to break down somebody's belief system, they ignorant, and now they want to get you locked up. They want to get you locked up. They want to get you involved. They want you involved. System. Our matrix nature that was already here and took and raped and pillaged our people. So your grandma, your mother, your aunt taught you what you know now today, and that it's running systematically in your genetic bloodline. So now that you portal into this realm, your children know what you know the ignorance of this system. Your daughter know the ignorance of this system. It's in her blood. 0 to 7 years old. So when you come with truth, and you come to break down somebody's belief system, they ignorant, and now they want to get you locked up. They want to get you locked up. They want to get you involved. They want you involved in their system. In your system. It's a mindset. They want to get you involved, getting locked up, and wrapped up in this system. Child support. They put you on child support, and incredibly in this system more than a black man. You are a white supremacist. You are Negropean.
You don't even know.
You are ignorant. Your mind is ignorant. Your understanding is ignorant. You are walking through the mind of white supremacy. So you are a bot, MK Ultra ass bot. So when you try to get woken up, it's like an automatic European wake up and you like, oh, go get it, master. There they are. They teaching truth, master. Look at them, master God.
Let me tell you what they do, bro.
All this shit.
When the police came into
it
the
was
lobby,
one white police officer.
let me tell you, police. I'm gonna tell you exactly the setup.
These are nature boy, who they call Bishop. You know, he's in jail. He was a cult leader, full definition of a cult leader. Took some girls away, some guys also, private retreat. Then they started moving from country to country. A lot of people, family members, been looking for them, but these are his wives. He was recently stabbed up in the penitentiary, and they wanted to go up there to visit him, and for some reason, they were denied entry into the facility. These are his wives right here. Some people say they're having a meltdown. Now, we'll explain the penitentiary, you know, you get to mess around with them folks will put you in transportation. They'll have you, they'll say you one place, they do what they want to do. I'll explain that one day up in there. But this is their rant. This is their rant right there. And I think all of this is part of the wokeness to who they really are, and y'all been lying to. And this is some of the results of that. Don't call me black no more.
Setup, right? Because the police officer, the white one, came in first. He the one who commanded. Well,
come on, y'all. Look at this, y'all. Come on, y'all. Yep. Russell talking about what in the world is this? You see what it is? You see what it is? Sun Powers, what's good with you? You know, we appreciate you. The 13th.
So, according to their authority, he can.
But I want to ask Russell Higgins and Sun Power about the reaction. Are they just young sisters? Are they just look at all of them? Let's just look at all of them and let's just see what's unfolding right here. Somebody said everybody's moving in a new direction. Prayer and psychological help. It'll work. Not just pray alone. Somebody needs some help on the inner parts.
Came up to.
If eyes were the windows to the soul, look at the sisters. Listen, just hear the sisters out. A common thing in these cults, you have to There's no individuality. You see how everybody here is the same, everybody wearing the same thing. Got to be careful in these cults. Once you start putting you in a costume or a uniform, any type of uniform.
Was first, very aggressively, standing there like, I told you, I told you who you came to see here, you can't go and you gotta leave, and I'm gonna give you 10 minutes or you going to jail, right? And he walked off. The black people stepped up. Ugh. Because defend him. They defend this system to the death. I want to tell the fields. On one side, I see a mansion, and on the other side, I saw the project where they keep the slaves. We drive up into the Macon State Prison. All I see is barbed wire, bruh. I started to cry, bruh.
What you supposed to see in the prison? Beach Island? What you supposed to see in the prison? You know, some people do bad and got to get put away, and they don't want to stay there. So you got to have preventive measures from getting them out, from them escaping. I remember I went to speak in the prison. The chaplain, he came through the Sunday seminary class and all of this stuff. And you know, I was talking to my brothers, and some brothers come on. He said, no. Some brothers need to stay right here. Some brothers deserve to be right here. They need to stay right here. If they get out, they're gonna just go ahead and do wrong. And it ain't in everybody to do right. Plain and simple. We have to accept this in this world.
I started to cry. Who does humans like that, bro? Barbed wire everywhere. Nobody. I said, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. They wouldn't tell us nothing, bro.
And they made us leave.
You know how that feels. I know a lot of people are going through this, but we don't take the time to unite. We don't take the time because of fear.
Why do all cults want all blacks to unite? We don't find this. We find it a little bit, but we don't find this as prevalent, I think. Maybe because I'm part of the black community. Why we all must unite? We all must think alike. What spirit? We all must call ourselves by what spirit makes people want to do this? I can see if you said unite in Christ.
We are in fear. That's the same reason a police officer can come up to you and knock you on the damn ground. That's okay. And these is the bystanders. They pull out their phone. They don't do nothing because they scared. When you have a lot of violence.
And they went on. It's a longer. A lot of people have been sharing different clips, but that's just an example. That's just an example. People, you know, we got to all think alike. Follow me, follow the leader doctrine. Before I even get into Don't Call Me Black no more and why we're sharing this. And let me just play some of my sister right here. Y'all know I got to play some of this sister right here.
So Ricky Smiley, in a recent morning show rant, was lamenting about how he is sick and tired of Black folks who are not with her meaning Kamala Harris. And he's just outraged. He's hurt and he is pissed off to the highest level of festivity that there is because y'all won't act right. Okay, you won't act right. And he is trying to understand, how is it that so many of you are trying to function in your freedom and think for yourself?
Do me a favor. Do me a favor. Somebody help Sean. We could tell where people are by certain comments that they make. Somebody help Sean. What's the difference between what we're seeing in this video, talking about Nature Boy 2 or 4 Wives, and modern Christianity? Y'all help him out right there, because I'm not going to even dignify that with an answer.
And refuse to agree with the group to your own detriment. He doesn't understand it, y'all. He's being obstinate, and y'all are being difficult, and you're being downright ignorant. Just ignorant and indignant in his opinion.
All right, we'll use this one to lead up to it. I'm looking for the answers. I'm looking for the answer. Somebody said, Sean said, what's the difference between the video with Bishop wives, with Nature Boy 4 wives on there ranting and throwing up the pyramid with the eye and all of that, and modern Christianity? Fair use.
People are beginning to see now and question whether or not they were Jews from the beginning. Something, you know, we've been saying since the 60s that it was a lie. You understand? And now that they are being drawn into the Third World War as prophesied by Ezekiel the 38 and many prophecies, now that that's happening, now the world is sitting up and taking notice and realizing that, wait a minute, maybe, just maybe, we had history wrong. And it's absolutely true. Anybody that goes to Egypt, that opens up an ancient Egyptian book, that looks at the servants and the slaves that was depicted in Egypt, they are clearly dark-skinned people.
When we look at dark-skinned people, a lot of this, I'm telling you, so much of this goes back to the brother from Arkansas State, the book Stolen Legacy that he dropped in 1954. A lot of the Black power is based on that. All the dynasties in Egypt were all Black people. Shout out to Bruce. Y'all know Bruce. Bruce will always say that the original Israelites were made up of a Black and a brown people. Shem, some of y'all go back to Genesis 10. Some people don't take Genesis 10 literally. It depends where you are, but we have all type of believers. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. People want you to be of one mind. We're going to talk about, because I think a lot of people make statements out of ignorance. And ignorance don't mean you're stupid. You just don't know on any one specific subject. You're not familiar. You're not familiar. If you don't know about the oil change on the new Lamborghini, don't just sit down for a minute. Sit down for a minute before you tear this $250,000 car up. Sit down. You just don't know. You're ignorant in that. You might be able to know how to drive a bus, fly a plane, but when it comes down to this car and the maintenance on this car, you just don't know. You're ignorant in that area, and it's okay. We have to admit when we're ignorant in certain areas.
How did the Jews leave Israel 4,000 years ago as Black people, and now not only come back as white people, but reject all dark-skinned people on it?
This has been the problem. This General Yohana, he's the head of ISUPK. I think his number 2 man is Captain Tazaria, if I remember correctly. And digging for this information, I tell you, we was doing this in the 90s. I remember being Union Square, building with the guards, and the dude KRS-One is there, and then dudes cold, they're heavy in the bed, and John Henry Clark and the 120 and all of this stuff, and the history of Elijah Muhammad and where we are as a people, just pontificating, talking that talk. But y'all remember when this thing came out? D-Folk had me on the phone. I tell you, every time they make me want to use bad language. No, I just do it sometimes. They left Black. This was supposed to be the speech on Time Cover magazine. This was supposed to be the speech of the president of Egypt, talking about the Jews said that they left Black and they came back white. Was the entire, or is the entire Christian church preaching that the Jews are God's chosen people? Do the entire Christian church preach that? Or is there a portion of the Christian church, specifically in the United States of America, that preaches that God's chosen people's Israel connected with that land and the Jewish people that wear black clothes with 2 curls on the side of their head and them alone? And what is that belief within Christianity called? Because Sean, people, so a lot of y'all don't know. Y'all don't know no better. I'm gonna leave y'all alone, but y'all don't know no better. What is that teaching called within Christianity? I'm gonna tell y'all something. Believe it or not, there's some black people that don't listen to hip hop. I know y'all don't believe that because you think all black people, like you think all Christianity. But this is just not the facts. You got to get out and get on the plane. You got to get on the highway and get to stopping in some of these small towns and get to talking to some of these folk. You don't know you haven't met everybody. And you've been doing a lot of y'all been doing a lot of broad brushing. Are we coming to the place where the church must accept some facts? And what did Christ and what did Paul put on all of this stuff? Because I'm gonna show you some more stuff, and I explain the behind the scenes stuff to y'all with church, with the formulation of religion and secret societies and different Black Power movements. But a lot of y'all shouldn't even be privy to it because you can't handle the simple things. So dealing with lore and the spreading of lore and the laying of foundation for Black Power movements, you shouldn't even be privy to it because your mind is not there. You need to be in the pews. Everybody in the pews don't need to go in the back, in the office and deal with security and cameras and where they counting the bread. Everybody don't need to deal with that. There's some cars that's parked separately coming into the building for security reasons, along with the bishop and them. The elders meet and speak separate from everybody else. Everybody don't need to hear everything that the owners of the teams listening playing. Y'all, everybody don't need to listen to it. They don't need to be privy to certain things. Now, if you come to a certain place of maturity and you have a vested interest, they'll let certain of these dudes they'll let certain people listen to certain things, but a lot of y'all people are not ready for it. And I'm saying all of this because I'm going to show you and I'm going to explain to you some videos that's been played and how these things have been played and how they're attempting to scare a people, a sheeple. A lot of y'all don't know. Y'all not in the place of the shepherd. Some of y'all just come in the comment section and talk and you just sheep rambling. But we try to gather minds together right here. To have honest intellectual and spiritual discussions concerning the religious. Now, somebody's going to try to be deep and think they spiritual and say, I'm not religious. Jesus wasn't religious. Y'all say, they just come in here and just say silly stuff. When you go to any university and you ask them about religion, Jesus fits perfectly in there as a religious figure. Including the one you love too, Moses. You got a religious book. Y'all got feast days. Y'all got high days. Y'all got altars. Y'all got sacrifice. And y'all would come in my face and say, I'm not religious. That just shows me that you're ignorant in the area of religion. You quote a lot of books, but you're ignorant in that area. And remember, ignorance isn't a bad thing. Take it from the top, and I'm going to go right into this next.
People are beginning to see now and question whether or not they were Jews from the beginning. Something we've been saying since the 60s that it was a lie. You understand? And now that they are being drawn into the Third World War as prophesied by Ezekiel 38 and many prophecies, now that that's happening, now the world is sitting up and taking notice and realizing that, wait a minute, maybe, just maybe, we had history wrong. And it's absolutely true. Anybody that goes to Egypt, that opens up an ancient Egyptian book, that looks at the servants and the slaves that was depicted in Egypt, they are clearly dark-skinned people.
Did the Egyptians look at themselves as the blackest of the people on the planet? Or the Egyptians believe there were another hue of people that were a little darker than them? That's my question. Because we see everybody here the same complexion. Is this fair to say what the Egyptians believed? I'm gonna get right into the rest of this.
How did the Jews leave Israel 4,000 years ago as black people and now not only come back as white people, but reject all dark-skinned people on the earth? It is the biggest lie ever told, and now it's coming to fruition.
Me personally, the majority of, hold on a second, type one if y'all can still hear me, the majority of people that I have come in contact with that were Christians, white Christians, black Christians, that were Christians, they don't believe that Adam and Eve were Europeans. The majority of Christians that I've come into contact with, European Christians. The only European Christians that I remember saying that was back in a place called Eastern. It was up in the mountains, upstate New York. We appreciate you, Brother Carl, up in the mountains. And because, you know, the people, you know, the guys in their offices or whatever in there, they knew me and knew I was involved with the chaplain and teaching classes and this and that. They allowed me to work with their mama and them. Up there, them country folk. Them country folk in the mountain, they get their mom and them jobs in them correctional institutions. So the sons and the nephews be correction officers, the aunties work in the kitchen, along with, you know, inmates, people that they could trust, because they don't want you kidnapping and holding hostage and stabbing up their mamas and them. So they want to kind of, you know, vet you or whatever. And check your status out and see if you got your head right, so they can take it till they'll take a chance with you or whatever. They took a chance. They put me in the mail room, taking all, you know, I don't know, whatever, 900,000, 1,400 inmates in there. They got me going through the mail. You know, the ladies open up the mail and I'm sorting the mail out to get the mail to the different correction officers to go to the different cell blocks. All them women in there, they see, you know, on my break time, I'm sitting there, I'm reading the scriptures, or I bring some books. And I deliberately had the title of the book right there on the table. The old ladies like coming by, getting all in my business, and they get up in my business and they start asking me questions. And they were kind of offended because I was not under the impression that Adam and Eve were white people. And those women would come in every day and they would bother me and I would bother them back. But those are the only white people that I knew. And I can say that those were good Christian white women. They believed Adam and Eve was white. But how can he be brown? But how can everything was Europe to them? But all the other Christians I've been around, not as much as a lot of y'all, but all the other white Christians I've been around, none of them say Adam and Eve was white. None of them say it. But yet everybody that I've met in the awakening say that that's what Christians believe, and that's what I've been taught. And all white people have told me that when I've come in contact with white people myself, that I knew didn't believe that. Or were they lying to me and then they told y'all the truth? Or y'all have to lie to push an agenda? And a lie is not necessarily a lie to a lot of people that's doing things. A lot of these things are nation building, they're lore. I'm going to play a video from Pastor Kelly. Matter of fact, I'll play another video because Pastor Kelly said he abandoned Freemasonry now, but when he came into Freemasonry, he came into in a military lodge, just like Prince Hall. I'm going to explain something to y'all. I'm going to let the video play, but I'm going to explain something. The first person that introduced a book that really had the community jumping was Stolen Legacy in 1954. He was also a Freemason. The guy that gave y'all the book of Enoch and brought it back here to the light bottle, he was also a Freemason. We're just talking about people with knowledge, people with an open canon, people that got lore, people that put information out there. Ain't nobody saying nothing bad. I'm just saying Freemasonry, this is what a lot of the brothers do. This is what a lot of what they call each other brothers. This is a lot of what the brothers do. Let's pull some of this stuff up right here. And I'm going to show you. And a lot of time it's for an agenda, but people don't know about the agenda. Let's look at this right here. Where is true Judah? Who this white guy? Who this white guy right here? All right, let's click on this video right here. Now, matter of fact, let me share this first. Type of one, it says my audio is gone. Do I have to come out and bring the video back in? Matthew Nolan. Who is Matthew Nolan? Migration of Judah. 7 years ago, 400,000 views. This is Torah to the tribes. Remember what General Yohana just told you. Torah to the tribes. Let me go to this again. Who are the true Israelites? Pastor Matthew Nolan. Does he look like an Israelite to y'all? What does he look like to y'all? Yeah, we're going to fight and bring up DNA and everything. But I'm being very slow and deliberate with this. Because he's one guy that a lot of people I've heard of him, a lot of people in the Awakening love. Let's play the white bottle for the Christians. Because Christians, black Christians like myself and others, we're quicker to accept the white bottle. That's what many would say. Let me stop this for 1 second. Pastor Matthew Nolan, he is part of, can y'all see this? Let me look at my phone and make sure y'all can see this. Because one thing I don't want to do is start wasting my speech. Oh no. Hello, what's up? He's sleeping. He in there sleeping your mama going, and I'm live. Okay. To do laundry. To drop it off to the people. Yeah. No. She went to drop it off. Okay. All right. Don't call me back. The boy is sleeping. Oh God, fair use. Let me get back to this right here. Yes. Type of one. Type of Steve, what's good? Type of one. Can y'all hear me now? I want to make sure y'all can hear me. I don't care if y'all heard that conversation. Mine needs to get to bothering me like I ain't been around these kids before. Like I ain't been around no kids before. I had her rolling around one time, and I remember she blah, and that's why I think she's slow right now, because I left her on the ground, and I'm doing my thing, talking to some other people. She's blah, and I just rolled over, and all of the milk came back out. I said, "Oh, that was a loss of oxygen. She done." And I'm telling y'all right now, I love her, but boy, this ain't that. All right, let me go to this. Nah, I'm going to play some of the video first because I want him to get to a certain place. And I'm going to ask y'all a few questions. He's presenting some stuff. Don't laugh, Gia. He's presenting some stuff. Listen to this. I'm going to get right into it.
I'm Jewish and Irish. I wish I was black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was black.
And I'm focusing specifically because video, I can say quality, I guess, video production, on Pastor Richard Kelly from Richmond, Virginia, Benaiah, Israel. Y'all know they family, right? Them too. I'm talking about video production, especially at Benaiah. Video production and putting some stuff out is a problem. A lot of people may not like it, but it's a problem. Listen to this.
We're going to do a topical study today, and I'm really excited about that. This is something that has kind of vexed
Pastor Matthew Nolan, and we're going to go to his website. A lot of Israelites like him. Listen to what he's saying in light of everything we've been hearing for 3 years. He's going to put it all together. This is the ultimate milkshake. It's in the white bottle. He's putting it all together, and he throwing it out there. And watch how Pastor Kelly clip it up.
me for a long time, and quite honestly, over the past few months, we've done some teachings, got some pushback on that, but it's also enabled a lot of people to dig into the word and come to some really great discoveries. We did a teaching called The Synagogue of Satan, and this really exposed that the state of Israel is not biblical Israel. And that was really hard for some people to be able to see that, because there's such a strong push for Christian Zionism and Messianic Zionism. That was really difficult for a lot of people to come to terms with. That the Temple Mount isn't in fact the Temple Mount, it's the Antonia Roman fortress, that the actual Temple Mount was further south in the city of David. And then the one that I think has really been a big stumbling block for so many. And the reason that I bring this up now is because we are in a religious political time where I just am seeing so much coming to light that as we speak forth the truth, there is pushback, but it needs to come forth in this time when these globalists are really pulling the strings, and so many people are blinded to the scriptures, blinded to historical truth, and they're led by their heartstrings, but it's not actually fact. One of those things, again, that people have been led for so many years is thinking that the Ashkenazi are in fact descendants of Shem. And we've discovered that the Ashkenazi are in fact the synagogue of Satan. They're the descendants of Japheth. They're Turkic Mongols from the Khazarian region that converted to Judaism in the 6th and 7th century. These are the things that we've discovered over the past few months. Those teachings came across in exposing the rotting stick of Israel and the synagogue of Satan that are in our archives. But then if I'm going to go forth and say, well, you know, those that say that they are Jews but are in fact not, but are the synagogue of Satan, and the Ashkenazi are in fact not Jews, they are sons of Gomer, Japheth, they're not even Shemites. Many people have come to me and said, well, who are the real Jews then? Where are the Jews and what's going on? I mean, we understand that we're Joseph's multicolored coat and we're exiled into the nations. But if Yahweh is gathering the whole house of Israel, all 12 tribes, and the stranger that wants to graft in and join, then where are the tribes and what's going on? So I think it's really important to address this subject because, as I said, 92% of the people that say that they are Jews today are in fact Ashkenazi, sons of Gomer.
He said 92%. I don't know where he got that number from, but he said 92%. Listen to everything. Red Letter said he sent me this a long time ago. Yes. Well, Cat Kelly just reposted this. I do remember though.
So thereby are the synagogue of Satan, they who say they are Jews and are not.
Being Jewish is a religion. That's what it is. Being Jewish is a religion. That's what it is.
Being Jewish.
Now, some scholars will call it ethno-religious because it is connected with a group, one clan of people, a clan or a group or a tribe of people. Later on, we see the word nation of people.
It's a religion.
And we all know that a nation of people don't all look the same. We agree with that or we don't agree with that?
That's what it is.
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
You remember us playing this video right here, right? When we were dealing with proofs and with the Jewish people coming to listen to the oral tradition and try to understand these people. Listen to this.
That's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time, but already no, we don't have so many years. I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you. All right. I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible. Yes. Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews?
He said, do you want to remain to be ancient Israelites or do you want to be Jews? Ooh, that's heavy right there. How are y'all processing this? Look at Red Letter. He blow it up. I'm trying to stretch it out. He said, isn't he part? The white bottle that's talking? The pastor, Matthew Nolan. Red Letter said, isn't he part of British Israelism? Who do we know in the awakening that's attempting to join y'all with British Israelism? Well, the Bible say if they scattered them British Israelites that's claiming they Israel and had a chart before one West side, they Israel too. Who's attempting to join y'all together in this awakening? Of course, most people I know, Red Letter, they're saying no, they fake too, but we real. Them white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, those are Europeans, but we real Israel. Them folk wasn't around. They came on later on. Matter of fact, they Gentiles, they can't really teach us. Because you know that teaching is heavy right now. Unless you bloodline, the spirit can't really rest on you to be a teacher in the house of it. Is that correct, y'all? Is that correct, or can a Gentile teach? Especially bloodline Israel. Can a Gentile teach bloodline Israel? Russell Higgins, we'll split the room up right now. I'm trying to wait, but Red Letter being fast. I'm telling you, wait till we get closer to roll the window down. Yet they don't know we in the car. Let's get up close on them. No, Red Letter, roll the window down. People always want to be fast. But he done let it out. Isn't that pastor part of British Israelism? Come on, y'all. I'm looking for the blood, because we had the bloodline conversation last week, Russell Higgins. Where y'all at? Where y'all at? Where y'all at, bro? We want to talk right now. Or y'all just giving us British Israelism to drag us into the fugazi. Y'all get mad because Bereans just don't accept anything because I know how it go. I done studied some of that degree work. You get it in degrees and you'll understand later on higher up. Come on, y'all. He said, now listen to Russell. Let's listen to Russell now. Listen to my man. He said, I think God can use anybody to speak truth because he received the words of that white man. So God can use anybody. Is that white man part of the covenant? Is he part of is he your bloodline brother, Russell? The man that's preaching right now, Matthew Nolan. Is he part of the bloodline covenant? I promise you, Leo, and these certain people, did bloodline Israel work on the Masoretic text, y'all? King James Version based on the Masoret, that family. We can't ask them stuff like that about textual. We can't ask them stuff like that. Let me stop this for a moment. Wait, let me see how many minutes we're into the video because he done blew it up. I wanted to go at least another 8 more minutes, and Red Letter done blew it up.
Oh, Miss Sophia.
No, Miss Sophia, no!
Does it matter that the Jews are not Semites, or does this phrase anti-Semitism just means hatred for the Jewish people?
Nobody gonna do it like Kelly and Chop and get them pieces of sound bites and bring them together.
They're Ashkenazi. They're Eastern European Jews.
So who are the real Jews? That's the question that has been posed to me many times over the past months. And there's
long time ago, I think through Taylor and them, we met a guy, Dana Stevens. I don't know if y'all was around because he's a white guy that grew up and he went to some Bible school. And then, I think he said his testimony was something happened and black people punched him in the face or something like that. But he began to pray and God showed him that these black people that punched him or hit him or did whatever were the true Israelites that he'd been preaching at. And recently he even gave y'all some other degree work from another Mormon Freemason, Latter-day Saints. He started mixing and giving y'all some of that right there. His name is Dana Stevens. This guy, Dana Stevens ain't got nothing on this guy right here. Dana Stevens ain't got nothing on this guy right here. It's okay. Pastor Kelly played him. Let's see where he come from. Let's read about him. Let's read about him a little bit. Y'all think that's fair? Or you don't worry about the messenger. You just listen to the message.
really two answers to that question. And I'm going to be thorough today because I need to be thorough, because when you speak about this, it's going to upset a lot of people. So we're going to have to take our time in the scripture. So bear with me. Two answers to that question. One, I already addressed in the rotting stick of false restoration and the synagogue of Satan teaching. And that is, who are the true Jews? Well, the Fehalim, which is a term for the so-called Palestinians, the migrant farmers that never left the land of Israel in 70 of the Common Era when the Romans came in. They still were attached to the land. They were called the Fehalim, or what we call today the so-called Palestinians, are in fact the descendants of the poor agricultural Jewish society that stayed in the land, yet they converted to Islam in the 6th and 7th centuries to avoid paying the Islamic jizya tax. Because if they had done that, they would have lost their land, and they were attached to the land. So therefore they converted to Islam so that they could stay in the land, working the soil that their forefathers worked. Okay. This is recognized in 1918 by the historians David Ben-Gurion, who of course was the future prime minister of Israel back then, and Yitzhak Ben-Zvi, the future president of Israel. Both of them historians recognize this fact. Today, of course, it's buried in your history books. But what about the affluent Regal Jews that weren't connected to the land? Because we've addressed who the poor migrant workers are, the Fehalim. But not everyone in the tribe of Judah was connected to the land.
So now even Garfield said there were business people, there were tradesmen, the Jews on the top of the ships, and we've been arguing who are the Jews on the bottom of the ship and all of that stuff right there. Fair use.
There was a royal regal class.
He's the only Torah teacher that talks about that I know all these years that have called black people, certain black people, the royal regal class of the house of Judah. Y'all were the uppity folk, the ones that they robbed in Spain and Portugal, took y'all jewelry, y'all owned the pawn shops and the stores, and y'all had the money, and y'all were he said that was y'all. Now we're going to count the sources that he used as we go through this video.
That were merchants that would travel throughout the empire and throughout Judea and throughout the Roman Empire as merchants. These were the regal, affluent Jews that weren't connected to the land, but they were engaged in trade and export. Who are they? And where did these royal nomadic Jews migrate to? That's the question that I want to address today. Because we're going to be looking at and tracking the migration patterns and thus identifying the regal merchant class of the house of Judah, as opposed to who we've already identified, the poor migrant working class, which were the Fehalim, today's Palestinians. I can't stand it.
Okay, wait a minute. I want to read two comments right here. Gia said, I wish this information would make a difference, but it will not, because we still talking about the flesh, what people look like according to the flesh, bloodline according to the flesh. And she believed this whole entire thing is truly spiritual. Red Letter said, I've heard one Jewish rabbi say that we must be united with the land, the black Israelites. And we heard a long time ago, heard Kevin G said that there was, he alluded along the facts of something that he won't be surprised that them people in Israel would make connects with y'all in Africa and maybe even eventually the Americas to bring y'all under some authority. You heard the other Jewish man just tell those Igbo, a few of them, and not all of the nation of Igbo, I believe they think they're all Israelites, but he told them, he said, okay, y'all are ancient Israelites. But the challenge is, do you want to stay ancient Israelites or do you want to become Jews? Woo, Russell Higgins and them don't like that. Woo, Sun Powers and them don't like that right there. That should be enough to let y'all know right there. That's something ain't right. Somebody trying to bring somebody else underneath authority in a different title. Because it all comes to authority. Somebody been trying to bring somebody up underneath authority. You got to have authority. Without authority, you ought to be wild out here. So to prevent that, come under some type or somebody's authority, magisterium or something. You got your choice. Or you them wild folk out there like John the Baptist, y'all the wilderness folk. And he got to come out there and meet y'all.
When the globalists, the society that tries to enslave us, names us. I'm not a Caucasian, okay?
Uh-oh.
Because a Caucasian is an Asian from the Caucasus Mountain region.
Now, y'all got to listen to this real good. Yeah, I tell the kids, when you go to the circus, just don't look and listen real good about what's about to happen. Then they'll show you behind the scenes. I gotta show you something. I used to like magic tricks when I was little. Let me show y'all something. Y'all finna see something right here, but I'm gonna let it play and I'm gonna be quiet. Red Letter, don't blow nothing up. We gotta let these folk get this medicine. And then we'll pull them back. Like when the magician do the trick, then we'll pull you back and we'll show you what's what. Let's see how y'all handle this. This might be sleight of hand.
The Russian steppes, Caucasian. I'm an Anglo-Saxon.
All right, he just told you he was an Anglo-Saxon. What's that, y'all? Is that something? Is that some people that wrote the Bible? What's that, y'all? He said he's an Anglo-Saxon. Now, I know y'all going to tell me, Berean, you don't know that blacks were in Europe. I know y'all going to tell me that, bro. Van Sertima and all that, they came for all that nonsense. But been there, done that. Been there, done that. Long, long time ago. Some of y'all was in Pampers when I was doing that. Let's just listen. And then sometimes you would hear a WASP or a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. What are these terms? What's happening here? Let's listen to his testimony as he's speaking. Is this your bloodline brother? Or is this a Gentile with the truth? Or is Israel like a speckle? Or are there white bottles that are Israel and just as much in the eyes of God Israel as Pastor Kelly? As some of you other black folk is claiming Israel, Russell. You got to explain it. You got to explain it. Gia said don't make a difference. But if y'all know, somebody call Timothy Isaac right now. Let me get my phone. Y'all got so much scripture. Y'all got to explain all of this stuff.
Which means a son of Isaac. So when they start to name you and you have to fill out these little boxes and the government hands you out these little and check what race you are.
So he's a son of Isaac. Okay. All right. That's what he said. Let's keep going.
They're the ones telling you who you are. Don't buy it, because I'm not Caucasian. Who's Caucasian? The Ashkenazi Khazars, the Turkic Mongols from the Russian steppes to Caucasus Mountains.
So now he's not in the category. Don't categorize him as Caucasian. I wonder what Noah was, y'all people that believe in the plain reading of the scripture. And we was talking about that in the back chat. I wonder what Noah was. I know some of y'all gonna tell me albino, but I don't know any better because I'm a Christian and all of this other stuff. And y'all privy to some books. Y'all privy to some books that the rest of us ain't been reading. So y'all got the high knowledge. I wonder what Noah was and all of his sons. Were they all different? I wonder what they look like on that ark.
They are Caucasians. We've already explained that. But I'm an Anglo-Saxon. I grew up in England. I'm a son of Isaac.
He's a son of Isaac. He grew up in England. I wonder if General Yohana, so this is what Pastor Kelly and promoting. Okay, we got white Israelites that are y'all brothers and sisters, I gather. And they're anointed to teach the truth. Okay, let's see where he fit himself in Genesis 10.
That's what it means. You see, so I'm not going to check those boxes because the New World Order, the globalists trying to enslave us, but we serve an Elohim, and the first commandment is, I am Yahweh your Elohim, who delivered you from slavery. That's the key. This whole political system right now is all about slavery. The globalists are slavers. And we, as Israel, have got to understand who our Elohim is.
We as Israel. He ain't said he was spiritual Israel, because most of y'all say that ain't even Bible. He said we as Israel. So within the awakening, it seems like some people are trying to bring wait a minute, he said no sound. I stopped the video. Hold on, let me go to my phone. Let me go to my phone, make sure y'all can hear me. Because I ain't gonna sit here and go through this whole 1 hour of this stuff right here. Let me see if I'm even on. Yeah, he said we. This stuff right here. Let me see if I'm even on. All right, say I'm on. All right, thank you. See you. Yeah, thank you. Say you good. Thank you. I gotta keep scrolling so I can look at this thing. He said we. I want y'all to hear that again. Because different people in Israel got different jobs.
Elohim, who
now, if they tweak the awakening to bring y'all in first, and then end up bringing y'all back underneath the authority of the people, it's okay. It's okay, because y'all just want the scripture. Y'all don't know about the finesse. Y'all don't know about the fugazi. Y'all just want the scripture. But somebody has been trying to teach y'all and show y'all, look at every angle of this thing. Look who's introducing what. It's many pieces on the chessboard. Nah, y'all simple. The pastor played a video. The pastor showed me. Okay. Now, where the pastor gonna take you? Where the pastor gonna take you? Gia, boy, Gia ain't as dumb as she look. Gia said the British got their own finesse. Come on, y'all. What's happening here? Just tell us, Russell. I'm looking at you, brother. I'm looking at you. Tell us what's happening here. Tell us what's happening here.
They are Caucasians. We've already explained that. But I'm an Anglo-Saxon. I grew up in England. I'm a son of Isaac. That's what it means. You see, so I'm not going to check those boxes because the New World Order.
Yeah, there was a time when y'all would look at him and y'all would tell me he a white man. Y'all would look at him and tell me he a white man, but now a white man can tell you I'm not this. I could look like this, but I'm not this, I'm that. Because y'all love dealing with the titles and this is what y'all like, right? This is what y'all know, right? Finesse y'all with the same person that split up the family and the human race. The same people that invented classes of races of people and thought the Caucasians were the most beautiful of all of the human family. The same one that introduced the black-white thing to you that y'all interpret the Bible in light of. The same one switching up the rules of the game now. And who they using the black preacher to give it to y'all, Pastor Kelly, black, and he Israel. Using that to introduce it to y'all. Come on, y'all. It's the medicine y'all love, though. It's the medicine y'all love. Oh, don't worry. They did it. They did it to mock people too. Margaret Sanger said we can use the preachers to introduce this thing. Oh, don't worry. This pimping been going on. But y'all too blinded to see it when it's within your own ranks. That's one of our leaders. Let's keep going.
The globalists trying to enslave us. But we serve an Elohim, and the first commandment is
just add themselves in there. Because y'all was preaching people look like him. It's fake that live in that land, but he geographically or live in a different land, so he real. Flip sides. Let me tell y'all, one of the single symbols, y'all laugh at Drake, y'all laugh at some of these people that use a cult, just signs and symbols. And one of the symbols is an owl. Why? Because the owl ain't got to move. And he could turn his head 180 one direction and 180 the other direction. He could see in the dark. A lot of y'all need to take on the spirit of the owl. That ain't no spooky spirit apart from the Holy Spirit. It's understanding the symbolism. Being in the dark. Oh, some stuff sneaking up on y'all, and y'all just yum, 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 yum. And y'all don't know that's the bait to bring y'all in to get y'all. This is spiritual death coming upon you, but you can't see it because it's based on the natural thing. You can't see it. There's no discernment because this thing is color. So automatically what the enemy going to do, let me use this bottle right here. This bottle got the medicine for them that they think. You think it's one thing and it's another. But the person that brought it, but Shorty brought it. I knew she wasn't gonna let them dudes in. I know plenty of brothers are dead right now. Because Shorty ain't look like she had it because you focusing on her fat, you focusing on something different. Now they dead. They lined up. This is life. This is life.
I am Yahweh your Elohim, who delivered you from slavery. That's the key. This whole political system right now is all about slavery. The globalists are slavers. And we, as Israel, have got to understand who our Elohim is. He is the one who delivers his people from slavery.
Now, some people belong in the pew, not in the pulpit, not in the back, not in the holy place. They don't belong certain places. And this is just, they don't even understand the talk. That's what I'm saying, brother. This channel ain't for everybody. Take on the spirit of Christ. You just read scripture, plain reading scripture, right, brother? And you don't even know the magic show that's going on in front of you. Now you're gonna go to Moses and magic and the priest and listen, those that ain't born of the spirit, initiated, those that are not born of the spirit, they're not gonna discern the things of God. Brother, why the scripture said he that has an ear. Everybody got ears, but apparently some people ain't hearing. Everybody got eyes, but apparently somebody ain't seeing. Fair use.
Slavery. And today you are seeing more slavery by the politicians in this land. And it is truly, truly troubling. And I need to speak out on it because Yahweh is calling Israel back. He is calling his people back. But you've got to understand that slavery is what keeps you in Egypt. But when you can expose that, you can finally be set free and serve Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel. So we're going to look and track now the migration patterns of the regal merchant class of the house of Judah, because now we can see that the Caucasians are
the Caucasians. He said the Caucasians. I can't make this stuff up, bro. I love this stuff right here. He sounds like a Let me stop this screen for a minute. I got to do some reading. Let me stop this screen for 1 second. And before he get into the migration patterns, because we've been all wondering about this. I'm not going to even call Garfield to bother y'all. We appreciate Garfield too. Listen to this right here about he's the leader of Torah to the tribes. Torah to the tribes. Let me see. I want to make sure. I want to do all this reading. Okay, it's still going. All right. Torah to the tribe is not only a podcast covering the Bible prophecy, and current events, but it also hosts a broadcast and community center, as well as hosting 3 annual pilgrim feasts. Trying to get Bruce. Terrence Jones, listen to this. 3 yearly pilgrim feasts. Because y'all remember back in Deuteronomy, you have 3 times a year. Passover, Pentecost, and the Feast of Tabernacles. Now, somebody gonna say, how are you doing? What are you doing right there? Without a temple, they'll explain all of that. Matthew Nolan is an American English, can I highlight this? An American English conservative Bible commentator. Now, we were talking about some other people talking about, we don't like Bible commentator. We don't deal with no Bible commentary. Let me tell y'all something right now. If y'all, that's like I said, don't be mad when I was talking about the Lamborghini and the oil change. Once I open up the Bible, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. I am going to start talking commentary. Anybody open up the Bible and start talking, you can just read from the Bible, but other words that you speak will be commentary. That's what commentary is. You watch basketball, you watch the NBA playoffs, Stephen Smith and all of them dudes, when they talking on the side, they talking about the plays that happen. When I'm reading Genesis 10 and I turn around and I'm talking about Noah and all of that, that is commentary. There's an anti-intellectual spirit out here that want us to be silly and stupid, and a lot of us are just speaking out of the side of our neck. Commentary is anytime you read the Bible and then you stop and say other words outside of the Bible. Are those words all demonic? That's what I want to ask you, Elder Keith. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. You have to understand, back in the days with ancient Israel, those words are commentary on what on what I just read. I'm getting ready to speak on that. All sermons have commentary. So if you hear you Israel and you teach when you read the Bible, you make commentary in your sermon, in your Shabbat sermon, period. That's what commentary is. Sometimes they're written in books. Sometimes it's oral, like history and oral tradition. That's all commentary is. Don't have people out here got y'all say, oh, we don't deal with no commentaries. You don't want to see what no other rabbi said back in the days, no other preachers, no other historians. You don't look up to anybody. Let me see what they said on this passage right here. Let me see how because don't think you were the only one with a great mind. Somebody out here in Israel is great. Somebody out here had a mind. Somebody lived 100 years ahead of you that read the same scriptures. Maybe you want to see how they understood the scripture. Nobody going to hell for that, y'all. Matter of fact, the nature boy cults are the cults that just be like, my commentary is the only commentary. The words that I speak from this book are truth, and there's nobody else can speak words from this book and it's truth. Then I swing y'all with the language. You don't understand the Aramaic. I'm a master of the Aramaic. I'm a master of the Greek. That's the G to control you to don't look nowhere else, but I'm a master teacher. Without saying I'm a master teacher. I'm giving y'all games of the finesse, games of the fugazi. I'm giving it to y'all right now. That's how come this channel ain't good for everybody. Oh, y'all remember, I told y'all a long time ago, I used to be a pastor. Not saying every pastor is doing this, but we're just explaining what commentary is. I see people going in, we don't deal with commentary. We don't deal with commentary. Oh, the whole time they making commentary. Of course, I go back and I watch the videos 2 hours later, it's commentary. In between the words of John 3:16, in between the words of the Torah, your videos full of commentary. Let's move on. He is the founder on the host of Torah to the Tribes, a podcast covering the Bible, Bible prophecy, current events, streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and iTunes. On the USA and Surrey and the United Kingdom. That's where he born. Today he resides in Salem, Oregon. Boy, that's the land of them folk. He said he ain't them folk, but that's the land of them other folk. Nationality, American English. How come he didn't say his nationality was Israel? This is his website. What's really happening? Would a pastor's statement of faith, would a statement of faith say one thing to reel folk in? And then say something and they preaching something. Oh, no, we ain't never seen that before. We ain't never seen that before. Let's look a little more. Let's dig a little further. Let's dig a little further. Maybe this thing will get us somewhere. Matthew Nolan was born in England and educated in an all-private boys boarding school. Embley Park, the former family home of Florence Nightingale. From 1825 until her death in 1910, and also where Florence Nightingale, y'all remember Red Letter? You remember who Florence Nightingale was? Florence Nightingale, let me click on this just let me just click on this just to click on this so we can see, because it's good to put the pieces together. Florence Nightingale was an English social reformer, statistician, and founder of modern nursing. My niece just caught me. She a nurse. She away. She going to whatever. What's that big hospital? She down there working down there in D.C. or whatever. She in nursing school down there doing her numbers, and up here worried about me and this little boy. Nightingale came to prominence while serving as a manager and trainer of nurses during the Crimean War, in which she organized care for wounded soldiers at Constantinople, where she significantly reduced death rates by improving hygiene and standards, washing their hands and starting to wear gloves, stuff like that, y'all. Not spreading germs from person to person. But let's keep going. Let's keep going. Nightingale gave nursing a favorable reputation and became an icon in Victorian culture, especially in the persona of the Lady with the Lamp, making rounds of wounded soldiers at night. Want to make sure people that got shot, that got stabbed, that they okay. Recent commentators speaking on the history, speaking on what happened. That's a commentator. Recent commentators have asserted that Nightingale's Crimean War achievements were exaggerated by the media at the time, but critics agree on the importance of her work in professing roles of nursing for women. In 1860, she laid the foundation of professing nursing school. Let me see. There was something else in here that we wanted to deal with. I have it on the other page. I have it. Let me see. Because she had a vision and God spoke to her. I want to show y'all what God told her. Let me click on this other page. I got to go back. Let me go back for 1 second. All right. Nightingale, Florence Nightingale, and he left England to travel. This is back to this guy right here. It is, here it is. I could have just kept going. It is also where Florence Nightingale claimed she had received her divine calling from God called her. Yahweh called her in 1837 at Embley, where she sat under a tree. She was under a tree. Who else was under a tree in mystical occult tradition and had a vision under a tree? So I wish Anthony was here. Who else had a vision under a tree? Now, Nightingale, she's the white bottle, y'all. It's okay. It's okay, Israel. But she's the white bottle, and God spoke to her, and he was connected with that place. This is where he got a vision too. This could be the land. This could be an open portal where the heavens are open, and these people get a mystical higher understanding. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. White bottle getting understanding to bring light to you people. It's okay. Let's keep going. Later, he left England. Do y'all see these words? Type a 1 if y'all see these words. Because y'all are getting here like we making stuff up and all we doing is tracing the mystical. We just tracing the mystical down. He later left England to travel throughout Israel. And this is back to the guy Matthew Nolan now. It says he later left England to travel throughout Israel. And when he was 18 years old, this experience of the Holy Land deeply impacted his biblical worldview. That's according to the Bible and how you see the world. That's what a biblical worldview is. When he was 18, he went to Israel and he was deeply impacted. Like y'all, I told y'all the story of Dana Stevens. He was in Bible school and some black guys punched him in the face. And, you know, he ended up having a mystical vision. These black guys right here are my chosen people. Now Dana Stevens running around here preaching to y'all, believing in the Aquarian gospel and everything else and giving y'all the Book of the Mormon in Israel. Now we'll keep going. That don't mean nothing. Long as he nation building. You give them lore, you give them, and it's not really lies, it's fables or lores, a story to promote a doctrine. He bringing the two branches together. And we don't care if it contradict Christ. We don't care about none of that. As long as you nation building, as long as you say them folk wicked and y'all are the pure folk, we could do something. And that's the job of nation building. He then moved across to America, and after years of being adrift within the West Coast, early grunge scene in Seattle, Washington, he came to faith in Messiah. Now, he had these visions first. He had these visions first. He was influenced in Israel first. He wasn't born again. Then later on, after running the street, doing this thing and all of that stuff in Seattle, Washington, y'all know it's crazy up there in the state of Washington. He come to faith in Messiah in his 20s. He got saved, as we would say in church. Look at this now. Matthew was initially taught and discipled at Calvary. Somebody call Alton and them. Calvary. Now, Calvary is Calvary legit, y'all? I'm talking only to y'all in Christendom. Them other folk don't know nothing about the Calvary Chapel churches. He was trained in Calvary, where he served. Look at this. We're going to take our time. Where he served as a college Bible teacher, teaching the Bible on a college level. He first began commentating on the Bible at Calvary Chapel to fill in for the senior pastor, and was later appointed to become an elder and to run the college and the career groups, along with all outdoor adventures ministries, in which he was a pioneer in developing Calvary Chapel mountain ministries. It was here that a lot of the experience was gained in his leadership and discipleship. Now, let me go on. Let's read this, because this is important to know who we're dealing with. A deeper hunger for the Bible, want to go further, want to have more knowledge. A deeper hunger for the Bible, stripped of religious and pagan traditions, where Leo at, drove him to study the Torah. He wanted the Bible without all the paganism. That's what everybody claiming, right? They want the Bible without paganism. Because y'all know that paganism is in the Bible, and most people say it's in the Bible, red letter. Through the English translation, paganism has crept in through the European culture. So that's why you're hearing a lot of people say, we want to take it back to Hebraic thought. That's this Western thought. And all of this is paganism. Now, some people would say, you strip the Bible of paganism, will you even have any Bible left? But I'm going to leave that alone. That's a whole nother argument for another day. Come on, y'all, people like to talk. Y'all like to talk about what's pagan. Are there anything that was once pagan? Nah, because that's God redeeming it back to its original state. But if the church try to do that, never mind. That's what's going to bring up the tree and all that other garbage. At that time, he also embarked upon unraveling the New Testament in its full Hebraic and Torah-based context. Now, some of you church folk get mad when people do that. But if Paul and them was Hebrews, they want to understand the New Testament in light of Hebrew thought. That bother you, Gia? That bother you as a Gentile? This took years of meticulous study to remove the leaven from the New Testament translations. That's how come everybody's attacking the translation. Oh, it's not good. The real Arabic of the Lord's Prayer, we're all Christ, we're really God. You got to get deeper. Translated lie, these European devils. And you know, we done heard it all over here. Let's keep going. Now, this is when you start hearing this, I know y'all start thinking, well, Hebrew roots, and y'all starting to think Black Power, Torah. And if you start questioning anything, you're automatically lifting up the white Jew, and you believe in the white Jew. Because these folk, they're a little too silly. They don't think that it's dispensationalism, a form of dispensationalism that's being pushed by Hagee and some of what they see on TV. That's how I know these people weren't going to church. They was listening to dispensationalism on TV, and they think the whole church in America preaches dispensationalism when they know it's not. They know people are against it. But they have to hide that part in order to push the narrative that the church is pushing a European Jesus and shaming all you black folk from it. Got to control your minds. You can't think for yourself. Come and follow me, follow the leader. And follow us other people that's been trained in law. We're going to freak it and we're going to give y'all something. Don't worry, you're going to eat this medicine. You're going to take this medicine, yum, yum, and we're going to stare y'all. Y'all are the sheeple. We're going to stare y'all. We can't come and tell you, some people move like this when they're dealing with law. Some people move like that. Telling the truth is too powerful for some of you folk. Y'all just need to be led. Just open up the doors and read it to me and tell me what it means. Hebrew and Aramaic and Greek translations. Now, remember Redhead Bishop and them. The white folk have been lying. The Hebrew and Aramaic and Greek translations were sought. He later received ordination after studying the two-house, where Leo at? Nestorium Israelite, yeshiva in early 2000 before pursuing the scattered remnant. Now we can get Jordan. As a media host and Bible commentator to the nations at large. I'm going to stop this. It's some more reading. But now that we have a better understanding of who we're dealing with, let's keep on going. Let's hear him lay out the history, and we'll see if we've heard this before. Not only that, we're looking for his sources. I know where. Red letter, some people know where he's coming from. Y'all been around long enough. Y'all gonna be like, okay, that's some Ron Dalton right there. Okay, that's some Rudolph Windsor right there. That's some Dante, that chapter right there. I see who he freestyling now. And we've been through a lot of the sources. Let's just keep going, though. We can hear the whole story laid out.
Are not pure white races, but a mixture of Asians that lived on the Russian steppes. Asians in the Caucasus Mountains, right? Caucasians, Ashkenazi Khazars. The Ashkenazi, they who say they are Jews and are not, are Caucasians, Khazarian Mongols. That's the truth. And you can check that box. They who say they are Jews and are not. But we're going to look into history. Even when you look at, say, a country like Ethiopia in Africa, and you dig into the history of Menelik I and Menelik II, you'll understand that they were descendants of King Solomon. Menelik meaning from the Melech, from Melech, from the king. But what about Egypt? What about Mitzrayim, Egypt? What about Egypt?
Now, everything here, he just gave the glory to kings of Ethiopia. The Ethiopian tradition that Queen of Sheba went to have, see Solomon. They were sitting there talking. He had some dates. He said, "Don't steal nothing from me." And he put some salty dates there or something. And she picked up a drink without asking. And then he got her and he tricked her and ended up getting the box. Turns around, she gives him a ring. Turns around, the boy come back 21 years later, got the ring on his finger. He's supposed to make an Ark of the Covenant and give him back a replica and send him back with 1,000 Levites. This is Solomon, the real King Solomon, David's son. And his son ended up breaking out with the Ark of the Covenant. And that's where we get I forget the other. What's the anthropologist's name talking about? Well, they say he's a pseudo-anthropologist, the British guy and his partner, and they start writing the books on anthropology, on the Ark of the Covenant, and how the Ark of the Covenant, everybody believes to this day, many people believe, is in Ethiopia. Solomon's son took the real Ark, and he said, Solomon's supposed to lament, and he's supposed to say, "Oh God, the glory has gone. The glory has gone to Ethiopia." And it seems like silently, we just don't see the Ark of the Covenant in the Bible no more. And that's the Ethiopian connection with Ethiopian Jews. That's called the glory of the kings of Ethiopia. And that's that story that the Queen of Sheba and Solomon had a baby. And now he's going on with some more things. Now he's dealing with Egypt, Genesis 10, and the complexion with the people. All of this stuff we can take back to the theory from Stolen Legacy. Greeks were civilized by black Egyptians. The Egyptians were all black. They were not brown people like the people that live in Egypt today. They were all black like me. Some believe that the Egyptians believed that Nubians were darker than them. And in the 25th dynasty, some Nubians, sub-Sahara, darker Africans came and was on the throne. But there's many people that are saying all the Egyptians were black like me.
pharaohs were black. They weren't white. They were black. Egypt is Mitzrayim, and it means burnt face or black. The ancients referred to their country as Kemet.
Thank you.
Kemet, which has been written in a variety of ways. Kemet, Kemit, Kem, Al-Kem, and it literally means the black land or the land of the blacks, Mitzrayim.
Now, we have beef because there are people that have been saying they don't call it the black land because the people were dark. Like Herodotus, he spoke on the people as being a dark complected people, and he physically went to the land and physically saw the people. Others are saying they're talking about the land is black because of the soil along the banks of the Nile River is a dark, rich soil, and that can grow crops. And that was important to the life of the Egyptian people. And that's why they called it the black land, because of the complexion, not of the people, but of the dirt of the soil that was so important to the people. And those are the two interpretations being, fighting over the term black. And Herodotus said he saw them and they were dark skinned. And then we do have paintings on walls that they did have themselves red or brown, and they had another people darker than them. Remember that in light of Genesis, in light of what we've been hearing Bruce and other people say, Shem and Ham mixed together. Largely. What about Japheth? And did he mix? And what to talk about the tense of? Let's pull up some Bible today.
How did Moshe
and just see how we understand what many would call the plain reading of Scripture?
Rabbeinu go undetected for 40 years if he was a Caucasian?
Back to Moses, if Moses was white and those people were black, or if Moses was black and those people were white, how did it work in the land of Egypt? How did Jesus, we often hear people say that if Jesus was white, how did he go run and hide in Egypt if they were all black? Things of that nature. That's what he's sharing right here. And we've heard this and we've seen it in memes all over social media for the past 8-10 years.
In the land of the black faces. How did he go undetected for 40 years? How did Joseph's brothers not recognize him in the land of the black faces if he was a white man? Can you tell me that? Noah called his son Ham. Ham. In the Hebrew, Ham. Chet mem sofit. And it means hot. Hot. Kemet and Ham are the same words in the Hebrew, which represented the coloring of the people of Mitzrayim, Egypt. What happens if something stays hot for a long time? It burns and turns black, right? So you start to look at the scriptures and you start to see that we serve an Elohim that delivers people from slavery. And then I get sick and tired of what's been going on in the run-up to these elections. And coming from England, where I see things so different in this country because I come from outside and come into it. And I see all the fermentation, and it really troubles me. But the scripture and historical truth is what will set us free. Amen. But democracy is designed to enslave you. It was invented by the Greeks, and we understand from the scriptures who was sold to the Greeks. Joel speaks about that. In Exodus chapter 2, Shemot chapter 2, verse 19, Moshe was described as a Mitzri, which means a blackface from the land of the blacks. They didn't say that he was a Mitzri Laban, a Mitzri Laban. What was Laban? Remember Laban? He was an albino, He was white, an albino. And you can see that in Africa today. There are albinos. But he would have been described, if he was white, as a Mitzri Laban. But he wasn't. Which would have meant he was an albino African, but he wasn't. just like Yaakov's uncle was an albino. You see, the ancient Egyptians were a Kemetic people. They were black. In 1965, the former president of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, said he couldn't respect the present Jews in Israel because they left Israel black and they came back white, because they were Caucasians when they returned, a Turkic Mongol Asians from the Caucasus Mountains, the Russian steppes. Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. I am black but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. I am black. The Hebrew word there is shachar ha-anya. It literally translates to I am dark-skinned. Strong's number, and I don't use Strong's numbers very often, but there's gonna be.
And I wonder why he don't use strong numbers. When we hear the master teachers coming around talking about Strong's number this and Strong's number that, there's a reason folk don't do that. But Jesus is the only, Jesus said Jesus is the only one that can set you free. This guy lost to me. He's going through history. Gia, do you believe that Moses was real, that Paul was real? He's just going through history. He's going through some history right now. Now, some of the things like the president of Egypt, we've been through some of that, and we know some of that's nonsense. We know some of that nonsense. We're gonna hear some more nonsense, but you know, any good Lord gonna have truth and lie mixed together. Don't be mad at me. This is facts, but y'all can't handle facts. Well, I can say all of y'all. A lot of folk like to just be led round by the nose.
Be pushed back. Strong's number 7838, shachar, from Strong's number 7835, dusky. So the word
somebody else came in here and they just said, what color are the Jews? What color are the Jews? Now, Gia can answer that right there. And this is where the problem comes in, because like I said, we're caught up in the thinking of a European invented race and made Caucasian the most beautiful among the 5 races that he invented. And that wasn't that long ago. So when you're governed by the Bible, dealing with it, and you're attempting a hermeneutic, you're attempting to interpret the Bible in light of this black-white thing, you could throw yourself off. And anywhere you see the color black, you're making it a black human being, as we would understand blackness, like looking like Berean here in America.
shachar means dusky. And if you look in the concise Oxford English Dictionary in the
and by me telling you that, do not let your handlers have you thinking I'm lifting up Europeans. A lot of y'all minds are broken and trained to not dealing with the argument of what's set before you, or it's easier to be simple. Oh, you don't have the spirit. It's easier to be, oh, Berean just love European and Berean want to lift up Europe. It's easy. That's the easy way out. And handlers would use that charge against people like myself that's trying to make you think, come out of the darkness. You can be a believer and be ignorant in some areas. It's okay.
10th edition, dusky means darkish in color, euphemistic of a person black and dark-skinned. And in the Old English Dictionary, it says tending to blackness. Song of Solomon's 5, verse 11. His head is as the most pure gold, meaning it's royal, it's regal, he's kingly, he's wearing a crown. His locks are curly and as black as a raven. King Solomon, Melech Shlomo, was black. And only blacks have locks, not Caucasians, no matter what Rapunzel or what was the other one, Goldilocks would say.
Is that true? Only blacks have locks? What kind of blacks? Indians? Do any Indians have locks? Y'all ever seen Europeans with locks? Or only black, like Berean, can have locks? Israel Grace said no. Now I understand. Listen to this. Now I understand why y'all trying to tear him down in the beginning. He's not saying what a lot of people want. Like what? Like what? Tell me what people want. A white Jesus? A white Moses and Noah? Somebody said, ask the hairdresser.
Say, right? Look at Bathsheba in the Hebrew. Bet Tav Sheen Bet Ain, daughter of Sheba. She was the black daughter of Sheba, whose line goes back to Sheba, who was the son of Cush. Cush, who produced the Nilotic black races. Look at this, Bereshit, Genesis chapter 10, verse 6. And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mitzrayim, and Put, and Canaan, and the sons of Cush, Seba, Havilah, Savta, Ramah, Savtecha, and the sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan. And now you're going to say, well, if that's true.
Wait a minute. We don't even know if only black people can lock up their hair. The Polish had what could be called wicks. Only black people have hair that locks if left uncombed. Let me see what else they said about hair. I have locks, so did Bob Marley. I thought y'all said Bob Marley was white. How can Bob Marley have white locks if his father was European? You are of your father, right? Or the devil's in the details. Let's skip all over that. Are there any Indians? Were there any Indians that had locks? Like Naughty dreading them around the way in Flatbush, got locks. Can anybody on the planet, only black people can have locks? Because remember, y'all caught up into that black interpretation. Okay, Israel Grace says some people saying yes, some people saying no. If it's fact, you can't be pregnant and not pregnant at the same time. What's going on here, y'all? What's going on here? Yes, Indians had locks. Yes, there were. Locks mean curls. Yeah. Some people do consider them things that the guys in Crown Heights with the straight hair, they consider those locks too. But people are quick to get all over the place. There's something else.
True of Solomon. What about Melech David? What about King David? We know that he was an Anglo because he had ruddy skin, right? Isn't that what the scripture says? Of course. He was Caucasian.
Caucasian. Oh, man, that's a good one right there. Listen to Matt, y'all. Matt said, need a foundation of kinky hair for natural locks. So white people can have locks. Bob Marley, father, didn't y'all say Bob Marley wasn't black? Didn't y'all say Bob Marley wasn't black? How Bob Marley had because of his mother's seed? Ass came in here and said the woman ain't had a seed, right? It's hard dealing with y'all. It's hard dealing with y'all.
No. 1 Samuel 17, verse 42. And when the Philistine looked out and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, ruddy and of fair countenance.
Yeah, that ruddy, we might start fighting over that. Ruddy Brew here, let me hear his story.
And then you can just move on. But I just don't want to move on. Because when you look at the Hebrew for ruddy is Adomi, and it's spelled Aleph, Dalet, Mem, Nun, Yod. And it means reddish black, as in reddish black soil. The reddish black soil connected to the land. And if you don't believe that, Genesis chapter 4, verse 10, Bereshit 4:10. And he said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's dam, blood, cries out to me from the ground. So now here we've got the word play. Dam is blood. Adamah is ground. Adomi is ruddy. We're talking mahogany in color, reddish black. Malcolm X, what was his nickname? Red. Detroit Red. Why? Because he was ruddy in his appearance. He was called Detroit Red. He was mahogany ruddy in appearance. So we have to dig in further, because if King David was an Ashkenazi, white Jew with a reddish complexion, he would have been described as Laban, an albino, but he wasn't. So King David looked more like Malcolm X than he did King Henry VIII, right? But I mean, the DVDs we give our children, right? Oh my goodness, like you were saying, the Israelites have British accents, right? My goodness, it's outrageous. But look at ancient Egypt hieroglyphics, and they are ruddy. The Egyptians have got ruddy black skin, mahogany skin, reddish black complexions. You see, one of King Solomon's sons was later taken to Ethiopia by the Queen of Sheba, whose son had descendants reigning in Ethiopia until when? Until the Ashkenazi, those who say they are Jews and are not, came in and dethroned Haile Selassie in 1974. And that's where we get the Rasta movement, of course, from Ethiopia. Because then, after they dethroned Haile Selassie in 1974, then who did they bring in 1984 to get rid of any of those connected back to biblical Israel? Of course, they bring in Sir Bob Geldof a decade later with his Live Aid migration moving of people for the Ashkenazi communists, and moves everybody from the plateaus into the Live Aid feeding camps underneath Ashkenazi communist control. We already spoke about that earlier at Sukkot. Even the Ethiopian Jews, they're called the Falashas, meaning those that are black. Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 10. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my worshippers, the daughters, my dispersed ones. That's the Queen of Sheba and her sons migrated and dispersed to Ethiopia. Lamentations chapter 4, verse 2. The precious sons of Zion are comparable to fine gold. Verse 8, their visage is blacker than coal. And the concise Oxford English Dictionary, the 10th edition, tells us that visage is a poetic literary of a person's face with reference to the form of their features. A person's facial expression is what? Blacker than coal. You start to connect the language and you start to see. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 9, verse 27. We have got the Ashkenazi sons of Japheth that have infiltrated into the land and are what? Have got the whole world convinced. The whole world convinced that they are sons of Shem. But look what it says in Bereshit chapter 9, verse 27. It actually tells you that Yahweh, who is omnipotent, it is his will because he has actually deceived them into doing this. They are so deceived into doing this. Look at Genesis 9, 27. Elohim will entice and deceive. The Hebrew word there is patah. Patah. He will deceive Japheth, Ashkenaz, the sons of Japheth, and he will dwell, that means Ashkenaz will dwell in the tents of the Shemites. Is that what's happening today? Has he deceived the Ashkenazi so much, those from the Russian steppes, the Caucasians, he's deceived them so much that they're actually dwelling in the place where the real Shemites should dwell? Genesis 9, verse 27. You see, Yahweh is the one that has deceived. He has enticed Japheth, Patah, deceived, enticed. He's deceived and enticed the Ashkenazi Jews into believing that they're the Jews, and they've built the Zionist state of Israel today, which is occupying what? Our whole political platform. You don't know where the money is coming for Hillary Clinton? Where do you think it's coming from? The Ashkenazi slavers. That's where all this political money is.
Before we get into it, there's always around election times and things of that nature. And, you know, people, you're always going to hear about prophecy and war, and it seems to increase during certain times when people want to kind of manipulate you into wanting, you know, instability. That's one of the formulas used. Y'all cause tension and cause chaos and make people feel unstable, and then you'll introduce one of these 2 or 3 or 4 candidates and explain why this person is the best person to have. That kind of increases with prophecies around voting time.
It's coming from. And you don't think it's important for us to know this right before the elections, what's going on. Because they're going to try and enslave people even more. And we have to be aware of it.
So who's the enemy? Who's trying to enslave? Is it the billionaire? Is it the billionaire companies? Oh God, what's the word start with an O, y'all? Them the single rich kings and princes and stuff like that. And they're gonna rule y'all. Who's trying to enslave? The devil, and he's using certain people? Who's trying to enslave you? Exactly.
Because what's happened is the Ashkenazi are...
Because we're going to shift, I don't know if we'll touch on that, but we may shift over into some voting and why should you vote, should you not vote, and all of that other stuff. Well, folk out here upset. That's why we don't vote right there, y'all. Ooh, and some other people got some attitudes. I'll try to see if we can play all this stuff today.
In fact, occupying the tents of Shem, the real Shemites. Shem's not there. It's the Zionist occupiers that are there. Look at Job chapter 12, verse 18. The deceived and the deceiver are Yahweh's. Some people are going to get all upset because you said, well, Yahweh deceived. He wouldn't deceive. Well, the scripture tells us that he does. Jeremiah chapter 20, verse 7. Yahweh, you deceived me, and I was deceived. Because there's a riddle, right? And we all know the riddle. I love the riddle. I love to do the riddle on my children. Out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweet, right? What is sweeter than honey and what's stronger than a lion? And we know this from Shimshon, Samson, and Delilah. And she got hold of the riddle, did she not? Deceitfully. And Delilah made Shimshon, Samson, sleep upon her knees. And she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks off his head. And she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him. You see, Samson was the first Rasta. He was a Negro lion fighter, similar to the African Maasai tribe, Judges 14:5 and 16:19. You see, Samson tore a lion apart as he would a young goat. And as a Nazarite, he wore 7 dreadlocks. He was mahogany in body color, just like Malcolm X, and his visage was blacker than coal. He was a Negro, Lamentations 4, 7, and 8. And this is really hard for people to see in scripture, because predominantly it has been the Caucasians that have been in charge of the scriptures.
They've been in charge of the scriptures. This is TV doctrine. This Sunday school books doctrine. Give me pictures, not words doctrine. As why are you laughing at this right here?
Right? For millennia. Lamentations 5:10. Our skin was black like an oven. Job 30, verse 30. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat. Deuteronomy
Now he's using the camp scriptures. Some people just connect the doctrine to Christian identity. That's white power. Same scriptures. It just depends on what color the people using it, but same scriptures and the same verses that they use. Nah, Sister Jones, don't start laughing now. He getting down to the nitty gritty. Now y'all start laughing.
Deuteronomy 28, Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. And Yahweh shall bring you into Mitzrayim, Egypt again with ships. And the way of which I said to you, you shall see it no more again. And there you shall be sold to your enemies.
Uh-oh. Y'all don't want that Deuteronomy 28 prophecy. Them other guys said it wasn't prophecy. Y'all don't want that. Y'all don't want this right here. This is the stuff we've been hearing throughout the years, all put together, all coming from the white Bible. If this don't make your mind up right here, I don't know what would.
For slaves and female slaves, and no man shall buy you. And that is what happened to the regal class of the house of Judah.
Oh.
And I want to give you a brief history. I won't go into it too much, but I can't just make that statement because there'll be people that will push back. But I want to give you a brief history on slavery. I was just amazed, I got to tell you. I mean, when you come to America and you talk to people about slavery, you can talk to black people about slavery, white people about slavery, and they'll give you all this history on slavery, and it only goes back to the 16th and the 17th century. And you're like, don't they teach you the history of slavery? Why? Ask the bloody question. Why are they only teaching you the history of slavery as far back as the 16th and the 17th century? Why are they only going that far back? Because they don't want you to go farther back than that, because then you'll actually find out the truth. But from the 16th and 17th century, we'll teach you about slavery. You've got to go further back, and you've got to understand and question, why do they do this throughout the whole of America in all the public schools? Why do they only go back as far as the 16th and the 17th century to talk about slavery? We've got to go further back than that. Because Islam designed infernal slavery, and then the Ashkenazi Khazars, those who say
somebody get Garfield right now.
They are Jews and are not, are the ones that marketed it, and the regal Negro nomads exiled from the kingdom of Judah were the main recipients of it at the hands of the indigenous black Africans. Because you've got to understand, the regal class of the house of Judah came down from Israel, and they came into the land of the black Africans. And the black Africans resented the regal class.
Oh, this is the most important part. One of the most important parts. Let me get to. I got to plug this in. Make sure this laptop don't die right now, because y'all gonna say it's part of the conspiracy
of the house of Judah in their land, because they had laws, they had customs, they had civility. And they were a regal class of Negro that came down into Africa. And later on, it was the Ashkenazi, the Islamic slave traders as well, that then worked together with the indigenous black Africans to enslave the regal house of Judah.
So the white Jew and the black Africans worked together to get the black Jew, the true house of Israel. He said, Garfield can't stop this. Out of there.
This is what we've got to understand, but you've got to go back before the 16th century to understand the roots of it. So we're going to see, as we dig into this, where this slavery came.
Did he name any sources yet? But we've been going good 30 minutes in. Who knows? Maybe they're all at the end.
From, because it was really a system that was very, very well crafted. There was Islamic masters, and there were white Ashkenazi Khazar ship owners. There were the buyers and the sellers. And they're not going to fill you in on all of this, but really you've got a 4-tier system. Number one, you have the Negro nomads that were exiled from the kingdom of Judah. Number two, you had indigenous black African hunters.
He's giving you the characters. He's giving you everybody in the role right now. Judah, the royal line of Judah, the regal class, or the uppity class of Judah. That's the uppity black folk that end up coming here as slaves, and we all came over here with trades and all of that stuff. They just had us thinking we were dumb, we were stupid, but we were all upper middle class people that had our own businesses and stuff that came over here. And it was the wicked Africans that was hating on us and the white Jew that was hating on us.
That resented the regal Negro nomads that had come into their territory with their own customs, with their own laws that were different and would not assimilate into their tribal culture. They were their own tribe. They were the regal house of Judah. And number three, you had Islamic trappers that worked with the indigenous black Africans to trap the regal Negro house of Judah. And then you had them sell them to the Ashkenazi ship merchants, along with many Portuguese and British Ashkenazi. You see, it's just like Al-Qaeda today. Or is it ISIS? Or is it ISIL? Or is it IS? I mean, right? Let's just change the name as much as possible to throw you all off so you really don't know what's going on. Let's keep switching the identity to hide the people. Why don't we just keep renaming you? Are you Negro? Oh, no, you're not Negro. No, you're colored. No.
Yo, somebody else hit my jacket and said the camp's got a hold of him. Listen to this other cat right here. Let me read some of this right here. This other cat said, Christianity hates to hear this. I know it just piss y'all off, doesn't it? Fair use.
Oh, no, you're not colored.
You know, there's a Christian channel, right? Why do you think I'm playing this?
You're African American. And this is what they name you. The slavers name you this. Because I know a white guy who grew up in South Africa. And he now lives in America. He is an African American and more African American than most. Do you see how African American is a misnomer? It's a misnomer.
Who called y'all African American? A white man?
Don't check that box. It's a title given to blacks by democratic slavers. Okay? Let's be real. They want you to check the box, just like they want the Anglo-Saxon to check the Caucasian box. It's not true. So again, we've got the 4-tier system. Number one, we have the regal Negro nomadic class that are exiled from the kingdom of Judah. They are their own royal tribe in Africa. Then, number two, we have the native black African trackers. They're going to track them down. And number three, we have the Islamic trappers, because between 650 of the Common Era and 1900 of the Common Era, 10 to 20 million people were enslaved by the Arab slave traders. Over 20 million enslaved Africans were delivered through the Trans-Sahara route to the Islamic world. Can you get your head around that? That's not even touching the Americas. Over 80 million more blacks died at the hands of Islam en route. And number 4, we have Ashkenazi Khazar Jewish ship merchants. And of course, the Portuguese and the British Ashkenazi were the main buyers. Islam and the Ashkenazi, those that say that they are Jews and are not, were the main sellers. Does that make sense? You've got to dig into this further. We have the 2 tiers right there. We have the Islamic trappers, and then we have the Ashkenazi ship merchants. You see, the Romans, they were globalist slavers. They were globalists then and now. They just migrated to Gaul, Ashkenazi, the sellers, and Britain, the British, of course, the buyers. German Jewry and British Jewry, where have they gone to? Well, they've descended upon Wall Street, upon Hollywood and Washington, D.C., as we see it right now, just to fuel this cataclysmic final war of globalism, which is none other than renaming colonialism. And this is the world that you and I live in. And I'm so sick and tired of these talking heads when it comes to the election time, trying to enslave everybody and cause racial division to try and get the votes. When ultimately, if Israel would just wake up to who's enslaving us, regardless of our skin color, he says what? I am Yahweh your Elohim that delivered you from slavery. We all need to get out from underneath this slavery system, and we need to come together as Joseph's multicolored Melchizedek cloak. But we've got to help identify who are our Jewish brothers and where are our Jewish brothers as the whole house of Israel comes together.
Whole house of Israel, red and yellow, black and white. But you black folk don't want them white Israelites. He not Caucasian, he Israel. So y'all will use them and they accept y'all, but y'all don't want to accept them. Or this is part of the game, Pastor Kelly. He'll just put it out there. That's how folk do. I learned from them. Just put the information out there. What are y'all thoughts on this?
Because Islam and the Slavic regions, I mean, where do we get these names? Yugoslavia, of course, Czechoslovakia, Slovakia. These were all regions of bestial slavery that eventually arrived on the African continent. These were areas where Islam invented infernal slavery up in those Slavic regions that then eventually arrived on the African continent.
Did Islam invent slavery, or was slavery already around? Did Europeans invent slavery? How long slavery was around, y'all? This nonsense got to stop.
And the
this pick and choose slavery doctrine and insert it anywhere you want to make a point.
Black Regal Negroes of Judah were the recipients of it.
And do y'all have ancient sources that talk about the Black Regal Negro of Judah?
Not only Black Judah, but Europeans were even kidnapped by the Arabs and the Ashkenazi traders during the war or peace periods in the medieval times. So, just to recap before we go further, because I don't want you to be confused, because it's of utmost importance. The real Shemites, the Fehalim, the rural farmers found in the land of Israel at the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. What we call today the Palestinian Christians, Palestinians, and other anti-Zionist, non-Ashkenazi, Torah-keeping Jews worldwide, just like the Yemenite Jews. And 2, the real Shemites, the royal, regal, Negro nomads, exiled from the kingdom of Judah, African Shemites who were taken away.
At least he's trying to bring all Jews all over the world together. At least he's trying to bring all Jews in all different, and every crack and crevice and country you can find them. Better than some of what y'all been doing in America with y'all black power.
In slave ships, Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, by the synagogue of Satan, the Caucasian white Ashkenazi Jews in the 17th and 18th century. Because Ashkenazi slaving, the history of it is outrageous. Let me read something to you. This is from the Ashkenazi Jew. He's a scholar, Jonathan Shoresh, and he says this. Jewish merchants routinely possessed enormous numbers of slaves temporarily before selling them off. If a slave auction fell on a Jewish holiday, it was postponed due to a lack of buyers and sellers. The Jews of Suriname gave their slave plantations Hebrew names, such as Machanaim, Nachamu, and Goshen. Rabbi Herbert Bloom adds that the slave trade was one of the most important Jewish activities. One of the most important Ashkenazi Jewish activities. In 1694, Jews owned 9,000 Regal African nomadic Jews from the house of Judah. In 1694, they owned 9,000 enslaved from the house of Judah. Jewish slaving is confirmed in the Jewish Encyclopedia. But you start talking about it, again, you're digging into historical truth, not sacred history. So why does the American Black history exist solely for the past 400 years, beginning in the 17th century? And all you hear about is, well, the transatlantic slave trade. But there's so much more than the transatlantic slave trade. You've got to go further back. I want to quote to you from Babylon to Timbuktu. It's a book by Rudolph R. Windsor. This is page 84, quote. In the year 65 before the Common Era, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 of the Common Era, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of Black Jewish slaves. Page 86. Many Jews fled to those parts of Northwest Africa known as Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and Mauritania. Many other Jews fled to areas where Rome didn't have any jurisdiction. This was the region to the south, the Sahara Desert and the Sudan. You see, in the 1930s, it was an established fact that the regal class of Negro nomads exiled from the kingdom of Judah, that they resided in Songhai, in Mali, in Ghana, in Kenem, in Bornu, in the empire, and within the Onadu forest of Dahomey south of Timbuktu. Communities complete with Aramaic Torah scrolls. On page 90, from Babylon to Timbuktu, it says this. The Black Jews had an advantage over the African tribes. Now, this is going to tell you why the native indigenous Black Africans worked with Islam to trap the house of Judah and sell them to the Ashkenazi ship owners that were also Portuguese and British Ashkenazi ship owners. And that's the history we want to see. Why?
Well, Babylon to Timbuktu, he gave y'all a source. I believe that's what I walked back in. I had to plug this in because I don't want this to stop. Because they're gonna say we trying to stop the awakening. We're trying to hide the truth.
Did this happen? Page 90. The Black Jews had an advantage over the African tribes. They carried their culture, They carried their history, laws, and written records with them. This assured them a constant precedent for the development of a higher social organization. Because of the stability of the Black Jewish culture, the Jews were not absorbed into the autochthonous population. In fact, the Jews absorbed some of the native tribes. The Jews made use of every opportunity. They were an industrious and skillful people. In the Jewish Ghanaian states were found kings, princes, governors, generals, secretaries, treasurers, revenue agents, judges, architects, engineers, doctors, historians, language interpreters.
The blacks were doing too much. If they destroyed Black Wall Street, why didn't they see the same thing and have the same attitude in Africa with the Black Jews?
Mathematicians, jewelers, sculptors, masons, carpenters, painters of art, goldsmiths. There were leather workers, potters, armorers, saddlers, blacksmiths, agriculturists. Do you think the indigenous blacks resented the regal Negro nomadic class of the House of Judah? And do you think they wanted to get paid by Islam? And do you think Islam wanted to get
The dirty, filthy Africans didn't like that. They were jealous.
paid by the Ashkenazi Jewish ship merchants? And then you get to your transatlantic slave movement. But don't start at the ships on the west coast of Africa. That's all you're going to get in your democratic American public re-education system. And it just troubles me.
It is.
Even blacks in this country aren't educated enough to go further back. Do you know how many blacks in America have been lost to Islam? It's outrageous. That's not your tribe. Your tribe is Judah. Muhammad's tribe enslaved you. Why would you convert to Muhammad's tribe when you're of King David's tribe? Don't convert to the tribe that enslaved you and then sold you to Ashkenazi ship merchants. More black Negroes have been lost to Islam in the 20th century than any other believing, Bible-believing group. It's outrageous because they don't want you to know who you really are and what tribe you're from, but you're not from Muhammad's tribe. Never were. Never were. You are a regal Negro class from the royal house of Judah.
Regal Negro. Go ahead.
Amen. It's outrageous to me. Islam is not the black man's religion. It's for those of the Banu Hasham clan of the Quraysh tribe. That's who it's for. It's not from the tribe of Judah. Never was, never will be. It was never the religion of the Negro nomads in Africa because they were exiled from the kingdom of Judah. In Joel chapter 3, verse 6, it talks about these indigenous black Africans in collusion with the Ashkenazi because they were selling the Negro house of Judah to the Greeks. And who did the Greeks? The Greeks, they invented democracy, didn't they? Didn't they just? You see, Africans weren't selling their own people. They were selling a tribe that had encroached upon their land, a higher educated, regal class that had judges, coppersmiths, goldsmiths, and all of this, and they did not assimilate in, and they wanted their stuff, and they wanted to get paid by Islam, and Islam wanted to get paid by the Ashkenazi ship merchants. The Igbo tribe of Africa, they're Jewish. If you were to look, just look at old maps of of the African slaving maps. There's an old map of, I think it's Guinea in maybe in the 1720s, 1730s.
I'm looking at the comment section. Y'all don't want to be special. Y'all don't even want to be regal. Y'all got self-hate in the comment section.
This old map, and it's called a slave coast map.
Uh-oh,
Look
here's
on that.
more
It's the
evidence.
slave coast map of Guinea, 1736. And you look on the West Africa map of 1747, and it says right on the West Africa map of 1747, Kingdom of Judah. Right there on the map. On the 1747
with the map, the Weeda, Wahoo, Wooda, we done been through the map, we done been through the pews, we done been through everything, including a lot of what he talking about. We done been through a lot of things, and y'all just can't help it.
Slave coast map.
You just don't want to deactivate your chips.
Desert of Seth. Well, who was Seth?
Come on.
He was Adam and Eve's third son after the death of who? Abel. Desert of Seth, right there on an African slaving map. Luke chapter 3, verse 38, we're talking about the genealogy of Yahusha from the tribe of Judah. Verse 38, the son of Enosh, the son of Seth, the son of Adam, the son of Elohim. But by 1771, the very same map, even with the same cartographer that did the map of 1747, all of a sudden, by 1771, they got wise to it. And there is no Kingdom of Judah no more on that map. Disappeared. Same cartographer. Somebody got to him, right? Why would the same cartographer remove the Kingdom of Judah from the 1777 map, 1771 map that was in the 1747 map? Why would he do that? You see, you've got to go further back, because the more we go along this timeline in this day that we have, people don't understand what has gone on in the past. And we are making the very same mistakes as we come to this apocalyptic time of days that we're living in. You see, Israel is that multicolored coat. The true Jews, the Shemites, the Fehalim, the Palestinians, yes, they're lighter skinned. The true Jews, yes. The Regal class, they were darker skinned, called Negro. And you can go, well, how come within one tribe we can have multicolored skin tones? Why do we have lighter skin that will work in the land, and then we have darker Negro skinned the house of Judah? That doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. It's called migration and diet. You spend 2,000 years in the Sahara Desert with the vitamin D and the melanin and your diet. Skin color is connected to geographic location around the equator. You're going to be darker skinned, and your diet, you're going to be darker skinned. 2,000 years. That's why we have a multicolored coat of the house of Israel. It's fabulous. Melanin, change of diet, more vitamin D. Therefore, you have one tribe, many colors. No one is excluded. You have black African Jewry. You have them. They are the real Shemites. Diet and environment. You see, the Jewish slave trade, its roots are in Bolshevism, and it's in effect in the USA today. It truly is. In Al-Andalus, which was Islamic Spain, that's what it was called back in the day, there was a guild of Ashkenazi Khazar slavers. They were traders in Constantinople, which of course was the capital of the Ottoman Empire. Their guild had about 2,000 members. The slaves were provided by Tartar raids on Slavic villages. Until the late 18th century, the Crimean Khanate maintained a massive slave trade with the Ottoman Empire and the Middle East. They exported about 2 million slaves from Poland, Lithuania, and Russia from the period of 1500 to 1700 of the Common Era. So it's not just the regal class of the House of Judah that were enslaved, but all of those areas around what we call today the Slavic regions, they were, of course, enslaved by Islam. What's the number one slaving country today? What's the number one country that America is economically, politically in bed with? The number one slaving country in the world today, Saudi Arabia. Our whole currency is connected to a slaving country that enslaves women, children, and men from all over the world. And they say nothing. And they're funding our politicians. Funding our politicians. And you don't think this message is relevant? Because people just, oh, well, let's just stick to, safe and secure. Meanwhile, we're all going down the street to destruction. Do you really think they care what color your skin is? They just want to enslave you all. But they don't want you to really tell the black Negro in America what tribe he's from and who truly enslaves him. Because then guess what? Your voting base is really going to change, is it not? Oh, and we wouldn't want that now, would we? So we'll just give you your history from the 17th century forward. We won't, tie it into the Ashkenazi that are totally... More blacks in America have been lost to the Luciferic Ashkenazi music industry as they promote Beyonce and all of this wicked. It's not regal royal class of the House of Judah. They use and they abuse to enslave people. Until the late 18th century, we see at the height of the American Civil War, who was the Union Army general? Of course, Ulysses Grant. He later became the president. And what did Ulysses Grant do? He expelled the Ashkenazi from all of the southern states. Do you realize that? He expelled all of the Ashkenazi, they who say they are Jews and are not, from the southern states. Why? Why did Ulysses Grant expel the Ashkenazi, they who say they are Jews and are not, from the southern states, the Confederacy, which were under his military control? He totally expelled them because the Ashkenazi Khazar Jews were engaged in so much slavery, black market smuggling and swindling activities that it was undermining the Confederacy's war effort, that he expelled them because that's what they do and had done for hundreds of years. And this is the irony of it all. The irony of it all. More black Americans have been lost to the Ashkenazi slavers, their gangster rap, Beyonce's form of Luciferianism, than any other group. What an irony. More African Americans have been lost to Islam in the 20th century. What an irony. More than any other New Testament believing community. Yet Islam is the largest slavers of people of color in the world today. What are we doing? 11.5 to 14 million blacks in America arrived here because they were enslaved by Islam and sold to the Ashkenazi ship merchants that are producing the black culture today, music, movies, to enslave you and to enslave me. And now we come to the politics, and I can't take it. We got what? How many more days do we have? Oh, too many. And this is the biggest irony. And I feel like I am walking around And I'm like, am I the only one? Because it seems real simple to me. I didn't grow up in this country. How come I know this stuff? And you guys grew up here and you don't know this stuff? Or do you know this stuff and you just don't care? Because I didn't study American history. I mean, yeah, we had a spattering of it, but even I knew this. How come you don't know this? More Black Americans have been lost to the Democratic Party than any other group in the 20th century. Progressive Democrats in the early 20th century are the ones that implemented sterilization of blacks. Democrats. Post-1970s, Democrats have opened the largest concentration of Planned Parenthood and abortion clinics located where? In the Black communities. They're killing Negroes, killing the regal class of the House of Judah. Republicans abolished slavery. Can we realize that? Democrats supported slavery. Republicans gave blacks the vote. Democrats tried to keep the vote from blacks. Republicans passed the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Who opposed it? Democrats. The first black Republican was elected to the U.S. Senate in 1871.
All right, wait a minute now. The sermon is closing. This is what it's about. The closing of the sermon is the key points of the sermon.
The first black Democrat was elected to the U.S. Senate in 1999. It only took the Democrats 128 years. Oh my goodness, am I crazy? Because I'm seeing something here. The first 22 blacks elected to the U.S. House were all Republicans. All civil rights legislation from 1865 to 1965 was passed over the objections of Democrats. All civil rights legislation. All civil rights legislation. The Democrats have stood in the way of civil rights for over 100 years. So now you go, well, why are so many black Negro royal class of the House of Judah caught up in voting for those that would try to enslave you? Historically, we'll tell you the Democrats have kept you in slavery because they're still enslaving you and they're still keeping you in slavery. They just rename it, remarket it, remanufacture it, but nothing is new under the sun. Democrats want to enslave you. All civil rights legislation from 1865 to 1965.
Wait a minute now. Is he preaching or he ain't preaching now? He done gave y'all a history. He done walked y'all down. He done walked y'all through some stuff. Some power mess. He said Trump ain't answer though. All that stuff sound good, but Trump ain't it. Oh man, I can't deal with this conversation.
Was passed over the objections of Democrats. Every civil rights initiative for that 100-year period, from the Civil Rights Act of 1866 to the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, to the Civil Rights Act of 1875, was proposed and passed by Republicans. How do I know this stuff and you guys don't? 100 years of civil rights activism by the Republicans. 100 years of civil rights obstruction, the Democrats. I'm not telling you how to vote.
Hard to tell.
Make your own decisions, people. Dr. King was a Christian and a Republican. Malcolm X was a Republican.
Uh-oh.
The Ku Klux Klan, wake up! It was formed after the Civil War as a military force serving the interests of the Democratic Party, formed to fight against Lincoln's Republican Party that had freed black.
Now we gotta lay down some facts. Are these facts? Where's the lie right here? Ah, boy, Red let him want to get on the all again. First he was usher at the door. Now he want to jump on the all. He all over the church.
Slaves. And those black slaves were trying to vote. They were trying to be voted into positions of judges, trying to be voted into positions of governmental influence. And more Democrats lynched blacks between 1870 and 1900 than any other group in the whole of the history of this country.
Oh, got to shut the live down now. Got to shut the live down now.
Democrats were lynching blacks. Can we be real? This really bothers me. Can you tell? Because we've got all of this and I'm like, but you're Democrats. And I know what you're up to. And it is sickening to me. Because we have textual, historic data that proves what you're up to. So how did the regal class of the House of Judah get so caught up in slavery? Because when Lyndon Johnson came to power,
the regal class, now y'all are here, and I'm not telling y'all how to vote, but I'm going to give y'all all this to manipulate y'all, to spin y'all in a certain direction. Even preaching is to persuade people to come to the cross, to come to the nation of Israel. It's persuasive language. Remember, we giving y'all behind the scenes stuff on how these things are formed and talking points.
Blacks.
Why certain things are done.
Who traditionally voted 95% Republican, suddenly switched over to Democrat. That is when it happened. Why? Because now the Democrats were promising to give them free stuff. And you know, it's kind of hard to turn down free stuff, isn't it? I'll have those in voting Democrat for the next.
Now, remember the same Pastor Kelly from We Woke Now, he dropped this a few years back. It had 100,000, I think something 117,000 views. Resurfacing, redropping videos at a time like this.
200 years. I'll have those in voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Lyndon B. Johnson confiding in two governors why the passage of his civil rights and welfare legislation was important in 1963. Can you not see who's trying to enslave you?
Come on, man.
It's the difference between house slaves and field slaves. Field slaves, I mean, man, they live dreadful lives of hard outdoor labor, picking 5% Republican, suddenly switched over to Democrat. That is when it happened. Why? Because now the Democrats were promising to give them free stuff. And you know, it's kind of hard to turn down free stuff, isn't it? I'll have those in voting Democrat for the next 200 years. I'll have those in voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Lyndon B. Johnson confiding in two governors why the passage of his civil rights and welfare legislation was important in 1963. Can you not see who's trying to enslave you? It's the difference between house slaves and field slaves. Field slaves,
You heard it
man, they live dreadful lives of hard outdoor labor, picking cotton, or even worse. They were always looking for the opportunity to escape, those field slaves. But the house slaves, on the other hand, they get to wear their master's clothes. Well, yeah, I mean, they were hand-me-downs, torn and tattered, but they would receive free meals. They would have the leftover scraps from their master's table. And when the field slaves came in and they would say, let's run, let's get out of here, the house slaves would say, well, run where? Where are we going to get anything better than this? Right? So it is with modern day black liberal Democrats. They're house slaves. House slaves. You vote what you want, but don't vote due to propaganda, color, and ignorance of your own history and what tribe you truly belong to. The reality is, blacks are being pimped like prostitutes.
Well, 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 well. He done preached right there. Let him finish up. Let him finish the sermon. What was this about, y'all?
By Democrats. Quanal X. You see, too often black believers have espoused a Christianity that ignores their blackness instead of appreciating and speaking to it from history and the scriptures. And that's the problem. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 14. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why was he plundered? Is Israel the servant of Yahweh as one born in his house? Why then is he treated as with one with no master to protect him? Because if you live outside your master's house, if you live outside his covenant realm, you're going to be enslaved. And that's what's happened. John chapter 8, verse 35, and a slave does not abide in the house forever, but a son, he abides forever. We have to go to the door of Yahusha.
Let's see how you use them passages.
Because we've got to become a bondservant, which makes you a son. Because that's the change of status that entitles us to abide forever. And this is it. It's the healing hands that would come and take away that leprosy. Because that's what we see, the leprosy of racism and the leprosy of slavery. But within leprosy, you have all the pigmentations of mankind. Because first, the leper's skin would turn yellow and red, and then black, and then white. And it is only Yahusha that can heal that kind of wound. And that's why I'm telling you this, because it is only Yahusha that can bring the whole house of Israel together. And he's the one that can heal that wound, because he is the Son of the Most High who said, I am Yahweh, your Elohim, and I'm the Elohim that delivers my people from slavers. Amen. Yes, some of us have less pigmentation than others, but we're all part of that multicolored coat of Israel.
That multicolored coat that Joseph had, that's how Israel gonna look. So they accept y'all, but some of y'all don't accept them. It's all over the place. How are you going to understand Israel? Is it just a call for the righteous Bible believers all over the planet? Clearly, we've been locked over here in DNA, and it's one group of people here in this country right here. But it's folk that's speaking bigger than this to this thing. Is it part of a larger awakening? Some people ain't going for none of this at all. It's just regular manipulation. Red letter said, like, in trail mix, like, I used to give Pretty Bird a lot of stuff, and Pretty Bird gonna pick out the sunflower. She likes certain stuff.
It's just that we've got to say,
Pick and choose, Golden Corral.
come home,
You don't have to eat the pork.
regal Negro class of the House of Judah into the whole.
But somebody really want to help you, regal Negroes. Get your mind right. Get your mind right, you regal Negroes.
House of Israel, because we can see the deception with the Ashkenazi slavers, they who say they are Jews and are not.
Don't worry about that. Every good movie, there's a bad guy and a good guy. That's part of the Lord. Got to have a bad guy.
Globalism is colonialism.
Yeah, the type of one. Oh no, I can't even ask y'all because y'all think Jews rule the world. They rule Dubai. They rule China. Y'all know it's billionaires in China, but y'all feel for some reason the Jews rule them. Y'all don't look at it as a conglomerate. Nah, it ain't that.
And slavery is still slavery. And the Democrats are the biggest slavers out there. And they're the ones that are pushing this globalistic agenda. It's truly, truly sickening to me to see this globalism and colonialism, because that's the means of exploitation that the black man has suffered at the hands of the Democratic Party and the synagogue of Satan for over 100 years. Your history proves it. The records show. You vote how you want to vote, but don't vote based upon propaganda. Don't vote based upon lies, and don't convert to a form of religion that has enslaved your people for hundreds of years. Islam.
Berean TV, who runs the International Monetary Fund? A small group of people. Do they run the planet? Do the IMF run the planet? That's the question. Somebody said it's billionaires in China too. You think 2, 3, 4, 10 billionaires are going to tell another 60 billionaires what to do? Or they all get together and get money? Because y'all may say they run the planet.
Islam is not the religion of the black man. Israel, Yahweh.
This is what they call an altar call. Do you want to accept Jesus into your life? This is the pleading part of the sermon and the information that was put out.
And the tribe of Judah.
Make your choice. Even when you're doing videos, tell them share the video, and then you want to give them a call to action when you're branding yourself, when you're branding your channel. This is the altar call. That's a call to action.
Judah is
what y'all gonna do with what y'all just heard? Can't do nothing. You got to make a choice right here.
Home for his people to come together as one multicolored coat. And there is no more important time to address this topic as we come up to the elections.
You are not influence me. I am my own person. I am a strong black woman.
And see how Pastor Kelly threw that in there? I love that. The white girl said, I'm a strong black woman. It's like LGBT. You can be whatever you want. Little white girl said she want to be a rapper and a cop. Little white girl went viral. She said, I'm a strong black girl. The other little white girl, they said, who's Martin Luther? Said, what is he, Martin Luther King? She said, what did he do for? He said, what did he do for? She said, he died for our sins. I can't make this stuff up. Throw it out there.
What's your thoughts? Please be respectful with your comments. Also, please click the like, click the notification bell, and subscribe to this channel.
Then he's going to go back to what KRS-One. He always got some of this. Go back to what KRS-One was spitting back in New York, back in the 90s.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10. Explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back.
This stuff been in the streets of New York. You heard, I played your General Yohana. He said we was teaching this in the 60s.
Genesis 14, verse 13. Abraham steps on the scene. Being the descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Cain. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was the, Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel.
All right, I got to stop right here for the Christians and the Christians only. What say ye on what y'all just heard? What say ye on that? We can argue Deuteronomy. I got the Deuteronomy video lined up with 2 leading apologists, but this might not be time for that right there. A lot going on right here. A lot going on right here. Is this? Oh no, this the other sister. Hold on, no, that's the other sister right there. All right, maybe here we go. Let me see. This might be it right here. Because they're making a call to action. The information is out there, but people are using TikTok for the call to action. Hold on. Let me make sure. Let me make sure y'all see this now. Make sure it don't say that y'all are saying the same thing. All right, I got to stop. I got to come out, and then I'll bring it back in. And the call is getting stronger. The call is getting stronger. People are preaching, they're putting information out there, and you have TikTokers that's making a call to action. People
get so butthurt.
Listen,
when it comes down to talking about massa.
Okay?
These are for the coons that want to stay holding hands with massa. You're gonna burn with massa. We know that. Now, somebody
the TikToks people are using when they're giving like this type of degree work that I call it, they're giving y'all, they're calling y'all to action. Sometimes you got to shame a person. You don't want to stay in that sin. You got to shame them. Now, we'll say the spirit to draw people, but there's an art of persuading in the preaching, in the nation building, and this in this sense they're the same. She talking about massa now. Nobody that's black that knew what your people been through want to side with massa.
People get so butthurt when it comes down to talking about massa. Okay? These are for the coons that want to stay holding hands with massa. You're gonna burn with
in this season, everyone, if you identify with Christ and Christianity, you're a coon. This is a season where blacks must be shamed out of Christianity. It's another way to get the young white kids out. But this is one of the main ways to draw blacks from Christianity. And you're not going to get the whole true history. Even with Nicaea, they're not going to give you the whole true history. They got to make it a white thing and say, all these people are white. That Trinity is white. These are white people that gave you these doctrines. So they can't give you all of the information. But it's the shaming part, call to action. You're only sensible if you come out. Then they'll say stuff like, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not going to tell y'all what to do. He ain't tell y'all what to do, but he sure shamed y'all in a certain direction.
with massa. We know that. Now, somebody had the nerve to say, oh, you causing division, because I said, no, we don't want to be friends with no white people who are snakes, who don't want us, who are upholding white supremacy, who don't give a damn about us. Yeah, I'm not talking about the ones who repented and cleaving to Israel. I'm talking about you wicked ass agents.
The white people that want to cleave to Israel, the white folk gonna kiss you black folk behind and say, yep, you're absolutely right. So dumb the good white folk that's gonna subject themselves underneath the black folk. Well, the Bible say that, right?
Esau agents. And some of you chocolate covered Edomites too. Y'all don't come on my page talking about some this is causing division. It's wicked Negroes like you that always thought you was been included in this society.
And now look at her complexion.
Because you still in the matrix.
Y'all got to hear that again. Y'all got to hear that again.
People get so butthurt when it comes down to talking about massa. Okay? These are for the coons that want to stay holding hands with massa.
And while she's preaching, Russell Higgins is on the organ. Listen, Gia, if Christianity would have been telling the truth, we wouldn't be here now. I want more sex in them to answer that.
Massa. You gonna burn with massa. We know that. Now, somebody had the nerve to say, oh, you causing division, because I said, no, we don't want to be friends with no white people who are snakes, who don't want us, who are upholding white supremacy, who don't give a damn about us. Yeah, I'm not talking about the ones who repented and cleaving to Israel. I'm talking about you wicked ass agents, Esau agents, and some of you chocolate covered Edomites too. Y'all don't come on my page talking about something. This is causing division. It's wicked Negroes like you that always thought you was been included in this society because you still in the matrix. Repent.
Somebody said the lady that wrote the Matrix finally got her settlement for proving that she wrote Terminator, she wrote Matrix, and they stole her ideas. Somebody hit me with, I think they told me that last week. And she was going around testifying how finally the truth has come out. All right. Let me see. I think I could split it. We'll pick up the rest of this. We'll pick up the rest of this here later on. But y'all can't get away with this. Y'all can't get away with dealing with some of this stuff. Let me see what these guys, they're talking about the same guy, Nolan. A few people, since they've been knowing I've been dealing with Matthew Nolan, identity.
So, Nolan, the reason I was contacted about this specific one, and I have been contacted by...
Let me tell y'all right now, y'all do Torah keeping, white bottle, Hebrew roots, them folk around. What role, how are they interacting with the awakening? Are Hebrew roots people part of the awakening? Telling people to come back to the law of Moses, now to send law, statutes, and commandments. And those like Nolan that's going to deal with the history also and quote some Babylon to Timbuktu. We know a lot of the sources. He didn't say them, but we've heard YouTube videos. We know people that drop books speaking on all of this, that specialize in teaching on all of this. We've been through a lot of this. Judah. He spoke on everything, almost everything besides the pews. Jews and the slave trade, secret relationship between blacks and Jews, stuff we got on here arguing back and forth with Garfield. And Jews in the slave ships. And their roles in slave auctions and things of that nature. Matter of fact, somebody else sent me a video the other day. Let me see if I can find it.
By quite a few people, is because Matthew Nolan has an interesting teaching on what the synagogue of Satan is in Revelation. And
Satan.
Oh yes, the synagogue of Satan is in Satan in Revelation. And so I didn't actually. I got a bunch of emails maybe a month ago, and I've been leery to jump into it. But just on a whim, I pressed play again the other day, and I came to some interesting things. The first thing that caught my attention was this.
And how did they convert to Judaism? Through the Luciferic rites of Talmudic Judaism. These were Scythian Khazars. Now, if we...
Okay, hang on just a sec. I got to get this up there. Khazars. Okay. Hang on. Scythian Khazars.
He's missing his... Oh, my goodness.
Hang on. These are all trigger points for me because I've heard this before somewhere.
Now, if we go back to Genesis chapter 10, verse 3, we'll find out where these Ashkenazi actually come from. Because Ashkenazis are not Shemites. They are actually descendants of who? Japheth and Gomer and Ashkenaz. Ashkenazi was a descendant of Noah through Japheth and Gomer. They were not descendants of Shem. This is huge. Because
Oh my
many
goodness,
people
this
will
guy
say, well,
is
the
this guy's an
Ashkenazis
idiot.
are Shem.
Hang on,
Sorry.
wait for it. You're stepping on it.
You're being anti-Shemitic. But hang on a minute. Ashkenazis aren't descendants of Shem, the son of Noah. They are descendants of Japheth through Gomer.
Okay, so I knew I had heard this somewhere. Yeah. So and wait, hang on just a sec. So thank you to the chat room to Gary for running our chat room. Here's he found where Matthew Nolan's career essentially. It says Matthew was initially taught and discipled in the scriptures at Calvary Chapel, where he served as a youth leader. Good gracious, save our youth! And a college Bible teacher. He first began teaching at Calvary Chapel to fill in for the senior pastor, and was later appointed to be an elder to run the college and career group along with all the outdoor adventure ministries. It was here
that's kind of what I read from the website, from their own words, from their own website. Forward to the tribes.
A lot of experience was gained in leadership and discipleship. Okay, hang on. I had heard this teaching before. Now, what you haven't heard is that the way that Cain came about is that, and this is in the teaching. The way that Cain came about is that Eve had sexual relations with the serpent. Okay, and this too really rang some bells with me.
What doctrine do we call that? When the serpent didn't talk Eve into eating fruit, he actually ran up, there was actually intercourse. What doctrine do we call that? And who holds to that doctrine? That's a question for everybody in here. What's the name of that doctrine? We got names for doctrines over here. I know them other folk don't like education, but education's important. Them other folk don't know what religion is. Them other folk don't know what commentary is. But we gonna know some stuff over here. What's the name of that doctrine, and who holds to that doctrine, and what's the main reason do people hold to that doctrine that Eve had a baby with Adam and Eve had a baby with the serpent? What is that doctrine?
Because I'd heard this before. And where had I heard this before? Well, first of all, let me read you this.
Thank you.
Dr. Shauna Delansky, professor in the College of Humanities and Program in Religion at Carleton University in Ottawa, Canada. Her doctorate is actually real. She says this. She says, in the 19th century, defenders of slavery argued that slavery and the subordination of women were the logical consequences of the fall. And in the 20th century, the myth was reinterpreted to propound racism and neo-Nazism. The serpent was a Negro, a member of the pre-Adamite subhuman race, fit only for slavery, and his so-called conversation with Eve contained more than mere words. Thus, Eve's disobedience and sin consisted of race mixing, and the result was Cain, progenitor of the Jewish nation responsible today for America's social and political problems. And that when I read that, I remembered where I'd heard this before. The identity Christians. So if you don't know who the identity
Christian identity, Phineas priesthood, this white pure folk, they say like Elijah Muhammad. Yeah, y'all black, y'all original, y'all was here. Y'all was on the planet. Y'all wasn't inventing anything till God created Adam and Eve, the pure white race. Now we see inventions on the planet. Now we see other things with the introduction of the white race. It seemed like they were injected with a wiser gene. Y'all are the beast type. Y'all are the beast type Negroes. Y'all are the bottom of the human totem pole. But the highest evolved form is the pure white man.
Christians were. They started sometime in the mid 20th century. Their theology goes back even before that. They really stemmed out of British Israelism.
12 Tribes chart that William Branham, that other good Christians. So there were some preachers that some black folk listened to back in the early in the 1930s. Y'all were listening to some of them in the 1960s, and they believed that stuff. Y'all loved a little bit of this stuff. Your grandmamas and them listen to some of this stuff.
And they have basically fueled a significant amount of the Aryan Brotherhood and other things. This from their website. Now I'm reading. Would you like to jump in, Rob?
Yeah, I just want to say, I got to say some things. This is a message for Matthew Nolan.
No.
You are the synagogue of Satan. You are the synagogue of Satan. You are incorrectly teaching the word of God. You are misleading people through false teachings, people who don't know better. You need to go back to school. You need to confess your sin of pride and arrogance.
Okay, hang on, Rob, because I'm going to hold off on the Hoff Goes Off for some of our later clips. This from the Identity Christians movement and their website. This is a quote. The satanic bloodline crept in through Cain. Was Yeshua so unjust that he was going to punish these Jews for the murder of Abel if they weren't descended from Cain? Of course not.
It's just so twisted. It's
Okay, hang on. But I know. Stop. So here's the thing. Is that the Christian identity movement, they actually use things like Yeshua, okay, and like Torah, and like Yahweh, and these kind of things. Okay.
So they're identifying. This is a problem we may have. Besides the historical point, dealing with doctrine, they're identifying white racist people and talking points from racist religious groups. Some people say there's similarities in what they're saying and that what the light-skinned bottle is saying, also same talking points. Have a chart, we're special. The etymology on how they bring words together. He say he ain't Caucasian, he ain't dumb folk. He angry, he British. And the Brits are connected to the tribes of Israel also in Europe. Y'all say they scattered, but y'all ain't identifying with them. Y'all saying blacks was in Europe. Y'all ain't identifying with them folk, that guy that just preached.
And Nolan is doing the exact same thing.
Mormon doctrines are also connected with race. A lot of early interpretation of the Bible and the curse of Ham has been connected with race and this racial thing, and making a people superior and inferior, the godly, as opposed to like how the Bible did it, the godly and the ungodly, those that are Christ, those that are not in Christ, Jew, Gentile, and all these different things. We've been seeing a heavy sway to put it towards specifically towards a specific people. Now we have to still separate it from the historical aspect, and that's where some of the beef been coming in. But let's keep going. Somebody sent me this last week, or when I was in Atlanta somewhere. Or it was a few days ago when I was in Queens. I can't remember. Let's just put it. Hey.
All right, so here we are as Wikipedia, which I'm not using as a source, but as I tell people all the time, you can use Wikipedia as a good starting point to look into other things. Now, all the links will be pinned to the comment section. This is a list of slave ships. You can go on here and you can look at all these slave ships, and then you can go get on Google or any other sites you have access to, and you can start looking up and researching all these slave ships one by one and see for yourself if they actually existed. Because a lot of people will say a lot of things, and as I've said before, a lot of people don't know as much about history as they claim to know or as they think they know. A lot of people will argue with you based on old, outdated information. It is now 2024. A lot of more information is readily available through open access, through academic sites like JSTOR and others. You can get access to all of the most up-to-date information if you want it. Some people...
Let me read back y'all right here. Berean TV, God flooded the earth, so nobody was left except Noah and his children, so there can't be a serpent seed. Some people say Ham's wife was, and I wonder why they pick Ham, said Ham's wife, her seed wasn't pure. Said Noah was pure, but not all of his son's seeds was pure. Maybe with the daughter, I've seen stories, like I said, specifically, Ham's wife had, she had bad blood. She had serpent seed, or the seed of the giants was inside of her. And because, the Bible says there was giants in those days and afterwards. Wicked seed.
People don't.
And they attempt to make the connection there. To still show that there's bloodline people over here that are wicked. Then they connected with John 8:44, you of your father, the devil. Paul says in times past, we have all, connected with all have sinned, we have all been part of the wickedness because of our wicked, sinful, fallen nature. For an Adam all died and passages like that. Other people say, no, there's a real bloodline that can never be saved. It's two families down here. You can't be born, you can't be wicked and born into the family of God. That's what we believe the Bible teaches, but they say you can't do that. Some folk just wicked and they meant to be wicked, and they will always be wicked because they seed not right. And they are of their fathers. Two families in the earth at war.
Don't want it. And shout out to everybody who likes to go through these in-depth studies, who don't like to just try to jump around to prove a point. My thing over here is the truth, and the truth is going to be what it is. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. It only matters what happened. And so what happened is a list of slave ships right here. And we're going to talk about the context of a slave ship. Most people tend to think of the big slave galleys when we talk about slave ships. There's a lot of slave ships right here. Most people tend to think of the big slave galleys, but it wasn't always the slave galleys that were used to transport slaves. Now, here is a list, another list of ships from, let's see, a list of ships employed in the trade to Africa from the port of Bristol, 1749. This is from the National Archives. If you guys want to go check this out, link will be in the comments section, and you guys can just click this and see all the stuff they have over here. But yeah, they got a lot of stuff on this site. But anyway, these are the number of slaves. This is the name of the ship. This is the total value of the cargo. And you can go do research on all of these ships individually. So anybody telling you that slave ships didn't exist or where are they at, they have to explain all these ledgers and other information. And there are even more than this. So now when we talk about a slave ship, this is what most people imagine. And they want to know where are all of these type of slave ships? And the answer is there weren't as many as you think. A lot of the early slave ships were part of the Portuguese Navy. The Portuguese had a navy. They basically ran the Atlantic Ocean. The Portuguese ran this. There was a lot of Portuguese ships. The Spanish had ships too, but the Portuguese Navy ran the Atlantic. And so the Navy ships were used early on to deport people from Portugal all the way into West Africa, and then from West Africa over to the Americas. Same people, the Portuguese, they controlled all of this. And so this is how we're going to end up with a transatlantic slave trade that is mostly the Portuguese who are responsible for. A lot of people think it was America or the United States or Great Britain or England, whatever you want to call it. But a lot of people think it was mainly them. Now, we're going to have an intra-American slave trade, which the United States is very much responsible for. But the transatlantic slave trade was only a little bit of the English rebels that came over here. Only a little bit went to the United States. Most are going to end up in the Caribbean and South America. That's going to be very important as we continue on here. So people looking for the slave ships that they can't find, so they claim, need to look towards Spain and Portugal. And there are going to be others as we go through this video, you'll see. All right, so here's another picture of a slave ship that was packed full of slaves. And one thing you will notice here is that these are all men. If you really pay attention, these are all men. There's going to be a reason that these are all men put on the bottom. If you look at these ships, these are all men. It says women and boys here. And we're going to see as we read through this, women and boys had a lot more, or women and children had a lot more freedom than the men. The men were a problem. So in some cases, they would just kill the men, take the women and children. In some cases, when they did have the men, they would chain the men together and lock them below deck so that the men couldn't have a rebellion on top. We're going to see a lot of things that are similar to modern day prison. We're going to see a lot of things that are similar to modern day politics. And over here, I don't care about your feelings about either party. I care about the facts the statistics, the data. That's what I care about over here. I don't care about the emotional arguments about why you should vote for one party or not vote for the other party. I talk about facts over here. If you don't like the facts, you just don't like the facts. But you're going to see some references to a few things that we see in history over here in America. So now let's read the Portuguese slave trade. This is by Arlindo Caldeira. This was published January 30th, 2024. So this year. And I'm going to read through this and a few others. And then there's going to be some pictures at the end. And we'll wrap this up. Hopefully it won't be too long. All right. So we're just going to read the summary here. If you have access to Oxford's website, that's where this will be. There'll be a link in the comment section. All right, so between 1441 and 1444, Portuguese navigators exploring the west coast of Africa captured the first contingents of Africans on the Mauritanian coast and subsequently shipped them to Portugal. So, self-explanatory. Portugal went to Africa, they took people from Africa, and then took them to Portugal. Most of them were Muslim Berbers, but there were also individuals among them from sub-Saharan Africa who had been brought to the Barbary Coast by way of the caravan routes. So the Berbers, for those that don't know, Berbers are indigenous North Africans. You can look it up yourself and see exactly what Berbers are. I'll show you, and you can look it up yourself. All right, so here we are, Britannica. Listen carefully to what Berbers are. Berber, any of the descendants of the pre-Arab inhabitants of North Africa. The Berbers live in scattered communities across Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Mali, Niger, and Mauritania. They speak various Amazigh languages belonging to the Afro-Asiatic family related to ancient Egyptian. Okay, so now the Berbers are the descendants of the pre-Arab inhabitants of North Africa. For those of you who believe that Arabs are native to North Africa, it's not true. They're not native to Egypt. When people say, well, they look Arab or Middle Eastern, no, look up the Arab conquest or Arab invasions. It happened 600 years after Christ when the Arabs invaded North Africa. That's just the facts. So if you're one of those people that believe that all those people over there are Arabs originally, you're wrong. So they had Berbers on the west coast of Africa. So they had pre-Arab descendants or inhabitants of North Africa on the west coast of Africa. And they were taken as slaves to Portugal. This is important because people will try to run this narrative about somebody being sub-Saharan African or North African based solely on the skin color. It is what it is. It's a lie, but that's what people do. They act like migration didn't take place. Migration took place. The magical boundary line between sub-Saharan Africa and Northern Africa does not exist. People move freely from North Africa to West Africa, Central Africa, all over the place. And you're going to see this as we go through this whole investigation here. So they got taken to Portugal. It says most of them were Muslim Berbers, but there were also individuals among them from sub-Saharan Africa, that's going to be below the Sahara, who have been brought to the Barbary Coast by way of the caravan routes. The first slave raiding expeditions fueled a plan to divert one of the trans-Saharan routes to the coast, which the Portuguese successfully accomplished when trade relations with the Berbers became regular. They built a fortified outpost in the Bay of Arguin in Mauritania, from where several thousand slaves were sent to Europe between 1448 and the early 16th century or the 1500s. In the meantime, the Portuguese had continued to advance down the coast of Africa and had established commercial relations with the local authorities and merchants in sub-Saharan Africa who were inclined to sell captives, as was the case of the Wolof people in the Senegambia region. Now, for those that don't believe that our ancestors came over here on slave ships, if you go watch my 4-part series, My DNA Journey, I discussed that I am part Senegambian. I also have links to the Igbo. I'm 48% Igbo. I also have links to the Limba in South Africa. So you would have to explain how you have somebody over here in the Americas who has DNA that is similar to people in Africa. And these two groups, the Lemba and the Igbo, happen to be recognized as Israelites. If you go look at the Obadiah Alliance's ruling in 2022, January, they ruled that the Igbo are descendants of ancient Israelites, and the Lemba have been accepted into the Jewish community for a very long time. And so you'll see a lot of this stuff come up. I also have Ethiopian Jew in my DNA, which Ethiopians, the Ethiopian Jews are accepted as Beta Israel. So there's all this DNA on the continent of Africa over here in my DNA in America. And I'm not the only one. There are lots of other people like that. I would encourage anybody that wants to know to get your DNA checked. If people are telling you you're already here, you shouldn't have anything in common with people in Africa if there was no slave trade. You shouldn't have any DNA in common with them at all. And a lot of people try to discourage you from getting DNA. They'll say, well, that's the white man's science. They have to say that because they've already determined that they want to believe whatever it is they want to believe, regardless if it's true or not. And any evidence to the contrary, they want to ignore. They don't want to look at all the evidence. But I would encourage you to get your DNA checked. The Portuguese monarchy secured monopoly over the slave trade along the African coast with the promulgation of the papal bulls 1452 to 1456. This is what I mentioned earlier. They had permission from the Pope to do this. They gave the Portuguese crown authorization to raid and trade exclusively. So the Portuguese crown, the kings, unlike other European powers that did not enjoy the same privilege. So Portugal got exclusive permission through the king, who got it through the Pope via the papal bulls. So Portugal has permission to enslave people all down the African coast. And if you go watch Jews in West Africa before slavery, Portugal had the black Jews or Israelites in the slave trade in Africa before all of this even happened with the Americas. Let's see here. One of King Zhao II or King John II, you will see that name come up a lot, of Portugal, 1481 to 1495. One of his projects was to establish several trading posts along the African coast, following the example of the Fort Arguin intended for the trade of slaves. So now you're going to have King John, who's 1481 to 1495, and then he's going to be followed by King Manuel, who in 1497 is going to issue the decree to kick all Jews out of Portugal or Israelites out of Portugal, and those that did not leave were put into slavery. All the sources are in my series, Jews in West Africa Before Slavery. It says, let's see. However, this project proved unsuccessful, whereupon the archipelagos of Cabo Verde and Sao Tome and Principe, I mentioned those earlier because that's where the Portuguese were putting the Jewish children that they took from the parents. They're putting them down into Sao Tome, where they had a sugar plantation. The sugar plantation and the sugar trade is going to be one of the main drivers for the transatlantic slave trade. So you have the Portuguese who are involved in the Inquisition, moving black Jews into West Africa, taking people from West Africa into Europe. They also control the sugar trade. They're using the black Jews on the sugar plantations. And then Portugal is going to start colonizing South America. And after they wipe out some of the South American populations, they need more slave labor. So they go over to Angola and other parts where there are black Jews at, and they start taking Jews or Israelites. They start taking Moors. They start taking Berbers. They start taking people who are native to West Africa, and they start bringing them over to South America. That's why you have a lot of dark people in South America. Not saying that they weren't dark before that, but you have a lot of African. When I say African, I'm talking about the continent, not descendancy of Ham. You had a lot of African blood in South America. And again, Moors, Berbers, Israelites, and people native to West Africa. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dante Fortson here. And that short clip you just heard is from a much longer.
All right, somebody probably know that video he talking about where he's dealing with his DNA and all of that stuff. Y'all can send that to me at bereanteach@gmail.com. Remember, 7th September 21st and 22nd is the meet and greet. We got all the food, we got everything covered. Y'all just make it down there to Petersburg, Virginia, Beth Yeshua International. hit me at bereanteacher@gmail.com. I'm gonna, as a matter of fact, let me go over there and see if I can get Bishop's sister and the rest of them to post all this stuff. We got the website, supposed to be setting it up and everything. Just that spell check thing with me. Hopefully they got all of that stuff good. They've been taking care of that. $ Berean Teacher, if y'all want to support, we appreciate. Say, I can say what I want. A lot of people look out. Israel Christian, I gotta say that they really look out. And we really appreciate that. For myself, Elder Green, Bishop's sister, and a good bit of other people, Queen Mother, a lot of people, say Sun Powers, people looking out, people supporting this thing, fervent charity. We got Bruce, we got folk, even if they don't show up. My man said, yo, we got to see some of that. You got to hit that live. It's no registration. Y'all send some support or whatever. We'll just put y'all down. Just let us know y'all coming. The regulars, the regulars coming through, lyrically outspoken, big country, little country, wise, everybody. And it's going to be a baptism on that Sunday morning. If y'all want to go down in the mikvah, y'all want to go down in the water, Elder Green and Elder Green's going to be baptizing. And it's going to be a good time. It's going to be fellowship. We're just going to chop it up. We're going to chop it up and we're going to eat, laugh, and have fun. Ain't nobody going to hell for having fun. So y'all don't start emailing me none of that nonsense for you haters. And we're just Bible believers getting together. People that's been knowing each other for years in the comment section. And we just been coming on here. We're like family. So we're doing that specifically. Y'all look out for that. But send me the rest of his video. We're working towards that. Elder Green did say in the back chat, shout out Sister SK. Older sister in the community, she was like, listen, I'll put up whatever, Berean, you with that, I'll put something up. Elder Green recently said the same thing. We'll put something up and we'll bring a specialist on here dealing with DNA. That's how come we're going to revisit some of this. Someone that does this on the regular. And just to explain a few things, if we can get that to happen, and we'll give them something. We can professionals, we're not going to waste folk time, come around here and get wrecked for an hour, 2 hours. And this is what they do. We're willing to compensate them for their time and their knowledge. Knowledge is important. I was telling them in the back chat, we may have to backpedal some of this plain reading because some folk turn plain reading into a whole different thing. Turn commentary into a whole different thing. It ain't what the academics doing, but they doing what they want. We want to be an educated people. And no matter what, we want to bring the community up. All right, love y'all. We're going to chop it up later on.